that you settled down, that you found a girl and you're married now. I heard that your dreams came true. Guess she gave you things I didn't give to you. Old friend, why are you so shy? Ain't like you to hold back or hide from the light. I hate to turn up out of the blue uninvited, but I couldn't stay away. I couldn't fight it. I had hoped you'd see my face and that you'd be reminded that for me it isn't over. Never mind, I'll find someone like you. I wish nothing but the best for you too. Don't forget me.
When I hear this woman sing, I, for some reason, am reminded of Sinead O'Connor. Not necessarily the music that I deviate to often. I am a classic rock and roll guy stuck in the 1970s, but when I hear Sinead or Adele, I hear somebody who can sing. Holy Hannah. So is it any wonder that on this day, just 14 years ago, Adele went to number one on the U.S. singles charts with Someone Like You. But, my friend, not just number one in the U.S. No. The song, Someone Like You, went to number one in the U.S., Australia, Ireland, New Zealand, Finland, France, Italy, Poland, Switzerland, and the United Kingdom. Did I mention the girl can sing? Adele, number one on this day in 2011 with Someone Like You. Hey, you, did you know that you are welcome here in the region of Waterloo, a beautiful community filled with 700,000 of the finest people you're ever going to want to meet. And we are expecting 300,000 more of you in the next 25 years or so. And can I tell you something? Have we got a condo for you? You can have a one-bedroom condo if you want. Might be about 600 square feet. Well, I'm sorry, what, you want a two-bedroom condo when you come to Waterloo Region? Okay, we might get you one of those. Very unlikely, but possibly we'll find a three-bedroom for you. But if you want a house, you better wait for somebody to die. 3 minutes after 9 on this Wednesday morning, the 17th of September. Welcome to the show. Thank you very much for stopping by, spending some of your valuable time with us. We certainly appreciate it. A little bit of housekeeping as we get the show underway for today. Got a call yesterday during our Talkback Hour, which, by the way, if you didn't know that we do the Talkback Hour, if you're just one of our 9 a.m.ers who are here right at the crack of the start of the show, I love you for that. If you don't stick around for the whole thing, just remember, between noon and 1 every day, phone lines are open to discuss the day's events, the stories that we talked about, or maybe something else entirely you wanted to bring to our attention, like Dylan did when he phoned us yesterday.
A couple of things I worry about. One, with on-street parking, that the garbage truck's going to come by, not going to be able to reach my cart.
I should have mentioned that Dylan was talking about the new program that we have. Did you make your cart selection a week or so ago? We had till September the 5th, these new carts that we're using for garbage in the region. You had to pick the smaller one or the large one, and Dylan's got some concerns about these new carts that will be picked up automatically by the garbage trucks.
A couple of things I worry about. One, with on-street parking, that the garbage truck's going to come by, not going to be able to reach my cart and leave my garbage behind for another 2 weeks. 2, it does away with a 2-bag limit every 2 weeks, so it just encourages, more waste to go to the landfill. 3, they're ugly. Just picture a street that has row townhousing and every single house having 2 of these ugly carts sitting in front of the house. Bad idea. I know it's way too late, but I wish it wasn't coming here.
Dylan, we're always here to help. Love to hear your ideas, the things that are on your mind, chafing at your chaps. I can't help you on the aesthetic appeal of the new carts. If you think they're ugly, then they're always going to be ugly to you. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, although I think you paint a pretty vivid picture. And I myself, I've mentioned this before. I mean, I don't know. I live in a place that doesn't have a garage, so these things are just going to be sitting at the end of my driveway or at the back end of the driveway, however you want to describe that. It's not going to be the tidiest looking thing, I don't suppose. And I think you make a fair point. The larger cart can hold a little more than those 2 bags, which we have as a limit bi-weekly these days. However, I can help you out on the first part. What if, my goodness gracious, what if, because you know there are more cars than parking spaces in driveways around town these days. So what if the garbage truck is trying to do its work and manually or automatically using those big arms pick up that bin, that new cart from your house? Well, I can answer that one for you thanks to the Q&A that the Region of Waterloo has on its website. And the suggestion is, just to avoid the potential of that issue, leave the carts at the end of your driveway. You know, I have always called it the bull nose. It's the ramp. I don't know. The part that's nearest the road. You know what I mean? That little incline as you come into the driveway, leave the carts there. Now, if, again, you live in a house like I do and you need to have the garbage out before 7 o'clock, you're always putting it out the night before. And when I leave early in the morning, I better make sure I don't back into those ding-dang things on my way out of said driveway. But nonetheless, that is the suggestion from the region. I cannot help you on the ugliness or lack thereof the carts themselves. Again, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Something I promised to you yesterday that I would do, because we've had a couple of calls about this as well. In fact, more than a couple. It seems that we are rather vexed with the new pedestrian safety features being installed at some of our roundabouts around the region. Remember, there are 3 roundabouts. I'm forgetting the intersection in Cambridge, and I'm so sorry that I am. I should have looked this up. If I was doing my job better, I would have had this information at my fingertips. But nonetheless, the pilot project has pedestrian safety features being added to 3 of our roundabouts in the region. One is here at Herb and Ira Needles, or not far from us here at the boardwalk at Herb and Ira Needles. Another is Homer Watson and Blockline in Kitchener, and the one in Cambridge, I'm forgetting. Chances are it's on Franklin Boulevard somewhere, because that's roundabout heaven if you like roundabouts, or roundabout hell if you don't. But anyway, I drove past the one at Homer Watson and Blockline because it's come up a number of times on the show, and I promised I hadn't been down that way, so I'm going to go, because everybody says it's what it is a raised crosswalk to really draw more attention to the fact that, there is a crosswalk there, and to decidedly slow down drivers as they go around. And people have said that this is going to ruin your suspension and this and that, and it's like a massive speed bump. So I went to check it out. What? It ain't so bad. Like, was I just the only one driving at an appropriate speed? Like, I didn't try to Dukes of Hazzard my way over the thing. It might have been, I was coming from Ottawa Street, so I'm Homer Watson towards Blockline, then to Bleems, down to the Bud Park area. So I was going in that direction. It might have been a little bit like abrupt on the way over the raised crosswalk, or speed bump, as many have called it. But I don't know. And then I did the Chevy Chase thing from European Vacation. I just drove around and around and around so I could go in and out of the roundabout and try it both ways. Meh. It didn't bother me a whole lot. I'll tell you what did bother me a whole lot is I got into a conversation yesterday with a former, and I will emphasize former, municipal councillor who actually tried to convince me that having the pedestrian crossings in the roundabouts where we have them is the best place for them, which is just, thank goodness you're a former councillor, my friend, because that's the most ridiculous statement of ridiculous statements. You know what I'm saying? The pedestrian crosswalk should not be in the traffic circle. It never should have been there, in my humble opinion. No, that's my not so humble opinion. Nonetheless, I went over the speed bump / pedestrian raised crosswalk at Homer Watson and Blockline, and it wasn't so bad. It didn't bother me a whole lot, so maybe I'm just doing it differently than you did it. But I still don't think the pedestrians should be at that spot in the roundabout. Mary is on the phone with us early this morning. Hello, Mary. Good morning.
Hi, how are you today?
I am so good today, Mary.
Oh,
so good. Okay.
Well, listen, I'm with you, and the people here that designed those roundabouts don't know from the hole in the ground.
They're arse from the hole in the ground. You can say that on the radio, Mary. You go right ahead.
I didn't know.
Oh, yeah.
Because roundabouts have been all over the place in the UK for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And I've never seen a pedestrian thing
right
through the middle.
You'd think we would have learned.
It just blows my mind why they would ever do this. This is a dangerous thing. The roundabout was supposed to get traffic moving, but now you're going to put these so-called bumps in. Like, why don't they just do it right and not get them out of the roundabout? Come on with your coming on.
I love it, Mary. Come on with your coming on. See, if we had done it right in the first place, we wouldn't be doing it again now, would we? Oh, pedestrians aren't safe enough in here. Maybe we should make some safety improvements. You think? How about you move that pedestrian crossing 10 to 20 meters away from the roundabout, put up a flashing light, and allow the pedestrians to cross there? It'll help the drivers slow down as they approach the roundabout. See, we're solving problems. I don't know why we didn't do it this way in the first place.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
All right, let's get to your Farwell Show 5 for this Wednesday morning, the 17th of September. Number 1, U.S. President Donald Trump says he loves being back in the UK. But not everybody in the UK loves having Trump back, including protester Dylan Naughton.
It is completely unprecedented for a president to have 2 state visits. It shows a degree of, I think, favoritism and compliance to an enemy of democracy.
King Charles greeted Trump at Windsor Castle today, kicking off the American president's second state visit to the United Kingdom that aims to show the transatlantic bond remains strong. Favoritism, says protester Dylan Naughton. That bond remaining strong despite differences between the U.S. and the U.K. over Ukraine, the Middle East, and the future of the Western Alliance. Number 2, the Bank of Canada will announce today its next interest rate decision. Financial markets overwhelmingly expect the central bank to cut its policy rate by a quarter point to 2.5%. The bank got a last-minute look at the latest inflation data when Statistics Canada reported yesterday that consumer prices rose 1.9% in August, year over year. That was up from 1.7% in July, although it was below economists' expectations. Number 3 on your Farwell Show 5 this morning, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre thinks he knows why Chrystia Freeland is leaving Prime Minister Mark Carney's cabinet. After months heading up Carney's departments of transport and internal trade and years of senior cabinet posts under former PM Justin Trudeau, Freeland announced yesterday that she's stepping down from cabinet and will not run in the next election. She's accepted an appointment from Carney to become Canada's special envoy for the reconstruction of Ukraine. Conservative leader Poilievre says Freeland is probably trying to get out of town and as far away as possible from her government's November budget and a worsening fiscal picture. Alternate theory here, Mr. Poilievre. What if Ms. Freeland didn't like the portfolio she got shoved into by Prime Minister Carney, right? Transport, not exactly finance, not exactly high profile, and maybe Carney wants to distance himself from the former PM Trudeau and his gang of merry men and women. Maybe. So this might be, a little behind the scenes maneuvering by Prime Minister Carney. Who knows? Number 4 on your Farwell Show 5 this morning, Ontario Premier Doug Ford in the Niagara region yesterday to attend the international plowing match. But he could not avoid the speed camera conversation.
Yeah, they're terrible. It's nothing but a tax grab. The only thing proven is that they take money out of taxpayers' pockets. I know how to slow down traffic. There's different methodologies. You do the little circles, you do the speed bumps, you do the flashing signs.
That's my point, Dougie. They're terrible, he says. Nothing but a tax grab. Ford was responding to a question about Vaughan Council's decision this week to end their speed camera program, a decision praised by the Premier. And number 5 on your Farwell Show 5 this morning, children's book author Robert Munch, who lives in Guelph, says he has chosen a medically assisted death because of his dementia diagnosis. Munch made the comment in a profile in the New York Times saying he has not yet set a date. The Love You Forever author was diagnosed with dementia in 2021. He told the New York Times that he applied for MAID shortly after the diagnosis and has been approved. And that is your Farwell Show 5 for this Wednesday morning, the 17th of September. A quick break. When we come back, what is Cochrane and Timmins and North Bay and Gravenhurst and Huntsville and Bracebridge? What are they getting that we can't have here in the region? And why are they getting it? I would like an answer to this question. We'll talk about it coming up on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. I asked a question just before that commercial break. What is it that Cochrane and Timmins and North Bay and Huntsville and Gravenhurst and Bracebridge getting that we can't have? And Paul sends me an email to Mike at 570news.com. And he says, are they getting properly designed roundabouts? Oh, points for you, Mr. Paul. Points for you. That's an... I wish, but in Ontario, you see, it doesn't seem as though we do the roundabout thing all that well, either maneuvering them as drivers or designing them as planners, because you shouldn't put the people trying to cross in the middle of the traffic circle or at the entry point to the traffic circle for the vehicles. You should put them somewhere else. But no, that's not the answer I'm looking for. This is a great announcement. Like, you got to love it when the Ontario government wants to tout through its transportation ministry the great investments it's making in transportation infrastructure in this province, including the $5.7 million just invested to complete a major milestone in the Ontario government's plan to bring back, are you ready for it, passenger rail service to Northern Ontario. That's right. By 2026, this is happening ahead of schedule. I want you to think for just 1 minute. No, don't even think for that long. Think for less than 10 seconds about Highway 7 from Kitchener to Guelph, okay? It's only been 40 years or so that we've been talking about that. But by next year, ahead of schedule, the Northlander passenger rail service will resume, meaning you can hop on a train in downtown Toronto and ride your way 7.5 hours all the way up into Ontario's north, Cochrane, Timmins, North Bay, all of those places I mentioned. Get into the Muskokas and enjoy this, because you see, the completion of this part of the project marks an important milestone, the provincial government says, in our government's revitalization and restoration of the Northlander service, delivering on a promise to connect Nipissing families, workers, and industries with economic opportunities across the province. We're also going to boost tourism. Listen, I'm all for it, okay? I'm all for rail. You want to get on the train in downtown Toronto and ride your fancy way all the way up into Muskoka Cottage Country and spend all your money and visit your lavish second recreational properties. That's fantastic. Can we get some all-day two-way GO service to this region? Like, what? Why? What are we doing wrong in the region of Waterloo that we can't get all-day two-way GO service between this community and downtown Toronto? I know there's a train. I think a couple of trains, right, that leave in the morning and one that comes back later in the day. But come on, like, should we not be connected with the economic opportunities that lie between Waterloo region and downtown Toronto? Should we not have the option of getting off the congested 4:0 blinking 1 and take a train that gets us between here and Toronto in a much more efficient fashion? Why do we not deserve that here in the region? I'm happy for you. Cottage Country, Muskoka region, Northern Ontario, I'm happy for you. But come on with your coming on. How do you, with a straight face, Transportation Ministry of Ontario, make an announcement like this while we are starved, absolutely starved for such service here in the region? It just doesn't make sense unless we're doing something wrong. Like, did we whiz in the Premier's cornflakes? And not just this Premier, but the Premier before him and the Premier before her. That's how long we've been talking about all-day two-way GO service, and we can't get it. We cannot get meaningful train service from the region of Waterloo to Toronto, but the province can make sure that you can get meaningful rail service from downtown Toronto into Muskoka, Cottage Country, and beyond. Okay, fine by me if it's fine by you. I'll just leave it alone. I won't worry about it anymore. Let's go to the phones. Paul is with us this morning. Good morning, Paul.
Hey, listen, we're going to have all-day two-way GO train service from Cambridge before you ever get it from Kitchener.
Shut up. Why you got to be that way?
I'm just stating facts. You know me. I like the facts.
I know you like the facts. Yeah, your facts.
And the facts are roundabouts, a properly designed roundabout, wouldn't have that big mound and all those weeds growing up in the middle. It'd be level so that you could see if there happened to be a pedestrian foolish enough to cross in the middle of a roundabout. At least you'd be able to see him if it wasn't hidden by all that brush.
Okay, Paul, I appreciate it. Where was I? I don't know. It was an itty-bitty, teeny-weeny little roundabout, though, and there wasn't anything in the middle of it. It was just within a neighborhood, and it was, whatever the middle of it was, it appeared to be so close to the ground. I almost drove straight, like over it, right? I didn't do that. I figured out what I was supposed to be doing, but oh my goodness gracious. Dave from Cambridge, Farwell's Force, member number 47, is with us this morning too. Hello, Dave.
Good morning, Mike. It might be the same article, but I read it a couple days ago. If I remember correctly, they're not just going to finish the rail system, like you said. They're bringing in a whole new 3 new trains of the Northlanders. They're completely different.
I think it's fantastic, but I don't know why can't we get one? Can we get the Northlander to Kitchener-Waterloo, Dave? What do you think?
Have a good day, Mike.
You too, sir. Listen, if the Northlander is ready to roll, we've got a station and people waiting to get aboard. Choo-choo, all aboard. I got to give a shout-out to my good friend, producer Paulie, who said, This is the relationship that Paulie and I have. We've always had from our years working together. But he sent me the text last night and said, there you go. I'm just getting you fired up for the show tomorrow. Oh, my goodness. As soon as I read it, I'm like, I am just going to go off. Like, if we're doing something wrong, let's start doing it right. Because the rail service is lovely. But how is it that we're getting improved rail service from downtown Toronto to Cottage Country, but we can't get improved rail service from the region of Waterloo to downtown Toronto? It just doesn't make sense. This is the Mike Farwell Show on 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. As you likely heard yesterday during All News Mornings, our morning reporter Josh Piercy talking about our region's paramedic services and some rather dramatic decreases they have made in terms of the length of time spent on offload delays. The numbers really caught my attention, and I thought this bears further scrutiny and conversation. And so John Riches, who's the chief of Region of Waterloo Paramedic Services, joins me in studio to talk more about it. Good to have you here, John. Good morning.
Thanks for having me here, Mike.
Thanks very much for making the time. Let's just start with those offload delays. How is it that you've managed to achieve such a dramatic decrease in those times?
Yeah, it's a great question. And obviously, we're really, really pleased with the improvement. There's really 3 important enabling factors. The first is that hospital leadership made it a priority within the hospitals. Ambulance offload times are actually not something caused by paramedic services. It's a patient flow issue within the acute care health system in the hospital. And the senior leadership at Waterloo Regional Health Network and at Cambridge Memorial have joined us in prioritizing that, hey, we need to address this and make this improvement. So that's factor number one, is senior leadership buy-in and making it a priority, all the way to their frontline nursing staff who've also embraced and made it a priority. The second one is we have lots of transparent aggregate data sharing. So we share our numbers with the hospitals, they share them with us. So that allows for lots of good collaboration to make sure we understand where the pressure points are. And the third one, it really is that for about 2.5 years now, we've enjoyed and benefited from provincial funding under the Designated Offload Nurse Program to allow for a specific nursing position in each one of the EDs to take on ambulance patients that would otherwise have been on offload, up to 4 patients at a time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So you add funding plus will and collaboration and buy-in, and we get these results, which we're really, really pleased with.
That nurse in the ED makes so much sense.
For
and
sure.
It just occurred to me, John, that maybe we're talking a little bit of inside baseball here, and we should back up half a step and talk about offload delays and what they are. Because as I understand it, that's where a hospital, an ambulance transports a patient to a hospital, but until that patient is admitted and into the care of the hospital, that ambulance can't leave, right?
Yeah, you've got it in a nutshell. It essentially is a symptom of what we call patient flow issues within the acute care health system. So if the emergency department is really busy and they have admitted patients that they can't move up elsewhere into the hospital, and then those inpatients in the hospital can't be discharged effectively, like that entire patient flow spectrum, then what happens is you get a backup usually in the ED. And because some of the patients we bring in are already under paramedic care, at times it's better to leave the patient with paramedics, or it used to be better to leave the patients with paramedics, and that creates offload delays. But really, it actually has the opposite effect, because it means we have less paramedics out in the community to respond to 911 calls, which is our core business and what we're supposed to do. So this improvement has resulted, I think, in a better patient experience at the hospital end, but also a better paramedic experience for their day-to-day workload. And it results in better resource management for us in responding to the increasing 911 call demand we have for our services.
So let's talk a little bit more about that, John, because obviously a tremendous success story to share when offload delays are dramatically reduced, which keeps ambulances and paramedics on the road to serve our community. What do those daily demands for service look like?
Yeah, it's a really good question. We're tracking around about, for this year, 46,000 so far to date, 911 calls for paramedic services. That translates to about 178 unique incidents a day, which has resulted in us sending about 206 resources to those 178 incidents. Sometimes we require more than one resource at an incident, so that's why that's there. And, the daily demand is increasing over time. We have some analysis that tells us in the next 10 years we'll see a 60% increase in 911 call demand for paramedic services. And then the other challenge with us is that we're providing healthcare in kind of a mobile environment, obviously in ambulances or our emergency response units. And we're doing it in really challenging and changing environments, whether it be weather, whether it be nighttime, daytime, whether it be, crowd events like St. Patrick's Day, or whether it be people at home who are having a heart attack or a stroke. Like, it's always changing, which is why many paramedics got into the business to begin with, is they like that variety. But there is a ton of demand for paramedic services, not just in the region of Waterloo, across the province. We're seeing increased 911 call volumes across the province. And but the ambulance offload time improvement, plus the investment by council in increasing the amount of resources we can provide to the community, those two things have resulted in a drastic reduction in code zeros, or what you may have formerly not called code reds. We're hardly seeing them at all now. Whereas, in 2023, we had, for January to June of 2023, we had 132 code zero events. But this year, for January to June of this year, we only had 4. So we're seeing that ambulance offload time improvement results in better service to the community, better resource availability, if you can put all that together. And
code zero or code red, John, would be where an ambulance is not available in this region.
Yeah.
What do you do then?
Well, essentially, when we had ambulance offload times, our superintendents would get into the hospitals and see if they could get crews released as quickly as possible. And usually it's about taking existing resources and seeing if we can put paramedics together to get them on an ambulance out onto the road. The good news is, again, because now we're more right-sized to respond to the increasing 911 call demand, thanks to Council's investment in us, we now have enough resources where some of those, I'll call it last-minute contingency planning, we don't have to do anymore. We have enough resources out on the road, and we don't see code zeros happen near as much.
You alluded to this when we were talking about offload delays, and it had previously, before these investments were made more sense to leave the patient in the care of paramedics. And you talked also about, these paramedics providing this care in a mobile fashion. For some, I mean, if I just think back to when you're a kid, you think of emergency services, the ambulance gets you to the hospital.
Correct. Yeah.
But we've come to understand, John, that there's a whole heck of a lot more going on inside that vehicle.
For sure.
Can you give us some sense of that?
Yeah, I think that when the ambulance service and our services in this province were first created, it really was a transportation service for patients. And what we've seen in the last 40 to 50 years, a real modernization of the healthcare that we can deliver. Paramedics are a widely respected profession, health and emergency service profession. It's a real combination of the two. And our paramedics provide everything from, resuscitation in cardiac arrest situations, supporting people who are suffering a stroke or a heart attack and safely getting them to hospital, because getting them to hospital is an important element still, but also providing treatments to stabilize some of their healthcare needs, everything from giving medications to support people suffering asthma attacks to stabilizing fractures, pain relief. There's a lot of different things that our paramedics do. And what we're starting to see as well is a real priority for us is using paramedics through what we call the community paramedicine program as a way to support people who have complex healthcare needs at home, so that and support them in such a way so that they don't need to call 911. We can give them healthcare in a non-emergency fashion, which then hopefully reduces a demand for 911 services, which may seem counterintuitive, but that's what I want to see. I don't want to see these massive increases in call volumes. We want them to stabilize.
Call volumes are likely to increase organically as our population increases. And we are headed towards 1 million people by 2050, 2051. And I know Paramedic Services has its 10-year master plan now that's before council. What challenges are you seeing, John, as a service when you look at meeting that kind of demand? Yeah,
so this is where the analysis resulted in a projected 60% increase in 911 call volume between now and 2035. There's a lot of different reasons for that. One is obviously as an area grows in terms of population, more people does result in more 911 calls. I'm sure our police friends would tell you the same thing. But for us as well, a big factor is an aging population. So as patient cohorts in terms of age get older, over age 65, over age 75, they have more healthcare needs. And we see an increase in demand, in particular, with that age cohort for 911 calls, because, people are living longer with more complex health needs. And so we start to see heart attacks, strokes, other types of challenges, medical challenges that people have, and then they call 911. And then the other real thing that we're noticing is an increase in demand for our support for those suffering from mental health and addictions related issues. I've heard on your radio show, it's been talked about a lot, about everything going on with addictions and opioid crisis. And we're seeing that for sure in terms of our paramedics supporting that. And then another thing that paramedics have really had to embrace over the last number of years, and it's part of our plan moving forward, is how do we help patients navigate the system? Because sometimes people call 911 because they're not connected to primary care or they're not connected to other services, and they don't know who else to call, so they call 911, and that can happen a lot. And certainly we support our local OHTs in trying to increase the primary care attachment rates, because we know that if people are cared for by primary care networks, then their demand for 911 tends to drop if they're properly cared for. So it's a kind of a complex list of ingredients that results in us having to make sure we're planning for that over the next 10 years. This isn't something we can say, oh, today we need this tomorrow. We need to be really planful and think about it over the next 10 years.
Well, speaking of that plan, along with the success story that is the reduction in offload delays, something else that really caught my attention is in this 10-year plan, master plan for paramedic services, you believe there are cost savings for the region here. And that piqued my interest for sure.
Yeah, there's two reasons for that. One is we had an existing master plan that we were following, and it was due to expire at the end of next year, the end of 2027. And it called for actually more resources than our current analysis with the master plan that just got approved by committee last week said we needed. So that's one success story, is when you have new data, analyze the new data and make different decisions. And that's something that myself and my team, data drives all of our decisions. So, we realized that we were actually starting to be right-sized. Our response times were stabilizing. Code zeros were dropping. Ambulance offload time was improving, things like that. And so our consultant was able to say, hey, you don't need as many resources as your current plan is calling for. So, for example, the previous plan before the new plan got adopted called for 4 12-hour ambulances this year, 4 next year, and 4 in 2027. Well, in the new master plan, we have 2 this year and none next year. And that's based on the analysis from the consultant. So there's a reduction that results in a reduction in costs as a result. The other thing is when you plan effectively and you do a good advanced planning and good strategic planning, you're hopefully the goal is to plan for resources in an efficient way so that you can deliver service more efficiently. So, for example, something we think that needs to happen is putting more paramedics into emergency response units, so a single paramedic into a response unit, having them respond to calls, because we know there are calls that don't result in transport. So why send an ambulance with 2 paramedics if you can achieve the same result by sending a single paramedic in an emergency response unit? There's one example. And then the other is the community paramedicine thing, as I talked about, is how do we help ourselves by reducing the 911 call demand?
A bit of an aside, John, but I'm thinking about our region as a whole and some of the furthest points of it, Breslau, Elmira, Hayesville, Ayr, for example. As we look at 1 million people and you're forecasting this plan, I think you're going to have to be physically located in more places, aren't you? Yeah,
so that was part of the plan as well. It did call for the addition of some stations and adding a 3rd hub, which I can explain in a minute. Certainly, we need more facilities. If we increase the number of ambulances and paramedics on the road and response units on the road, we need places to put them and have them respond from. We work on what we call a centralized deployment model here. So all of our paramedic staff report to one of 2 reporting stations. One's at 120 Maple Grove near where the police headquarters is, and the other is up here close to your studio at 1001A Herbs Road. And so all of our staff report to those 2 hubs, and then they get their ambulance and all their equipment, and then they go out on the road for their shift. And then we have an additional 11 stations throughout the region that they will, when they're not on a call, we will assign them to those stations. And we do need more stations to make that happen. And for example, the master plan called recommended for a new station in Elmira to address the growing population and the growing 911 call demand we're seeing in the north part of our region here. So that's one example. And the other thing the master plan called for is an addition of a 3rd hub out in the Breslau area, mostly because the 2 hubs we have so many resources that we're starting to get to max capacity to those 2 hubs. And other services that are bigger than us that have centrally deployed models like us have added additional hubs as well, just a way to still manage our resources effectively, but also have them in the areas that we need them to be in to support our population and our communities.
You mentioned Maple Grove Road and the hub that's there. And also earlier, you talked about 911 calls where people might not know what to do. They end up calling 911. Yeah. And that just makes me think of the new regional police communication center, John. Yeah. Do you see a place for paramedic services within that communication center?
Yeah, we do. One thing your listeners and viewers may not know is that the Region Waterloo doesn't control or operate our own dispatch. So that is provided by the Ministry of Health through the Cambridge Central Ambulance Communications Center. So they 100% fund it, they 100% operate it. The employees are Government of Ontario employees. And we have obviously a very close working relationship with them because they're dispatching our ambulances and they're taking in the 911 calls. And we have been engaged in, lots of conversations with the Ministry of Health about would they be willing to relocate their communication center into the new Public Safety Communication Center, because we see some efficiencies there and some operational benefits to having them co-located with the police 911 public safety answering point. Don't know where that will land, but that's certainly, as the chief, I see benefit in them doing that because we really want to make sure that we're maximizing as much efficiency as we can, because we also know that our services and our resources are expensive, and for the taxpayer it's expensive as well.
There's no question there are growing pains in a community that grows as quickly as ours and anticipates that continued growth. This is really informative and enlightening. Glad you could stop in. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
John Riches is the Chief of Region of Waterloo Paramedic Services, joins us this morning on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
But the ambulance offload time improvement, plus the investment by council in increasing the amount of resources we can provide to the community, those two things have resulted in a drastic reduction in code zeros, or what you may have formerly called code reds. We're hardly seeing them at all now, whereas in 2023, for January to June of 2023, we had 132 code zero events. But this year, for January to June of this year, we only had 4.
John Riches is the Chief of Paramedic Services here in the region of Waterloo, joins us to talk about the 10-year master plan for paramedic services and the challenges embedded within such a plan as we continue to grow at such a rapid pace, right? One of the fastest growing regions in all of Canada. And we are anticipating growing by about 40% in the next 25 years or so to 1 million people by 2051. But one of the good news stories within this story, as we look out at the 10-year master plan, how the paramedic services can better deliver those services to our community, is the story of the offload delays, because I remember the conversations we've had on this show about code reds, or now called code zeros, where there is not an ambulance available and you're essentially borrowing from neighboring municipalities. And we have taken, in the past year, our offload delays, where ambulances are tied up at hospital emergency departments, down from 105 minutes to 42 minutes. So slicing them better than in half. And that is an incredible success story that I'm glad we could share this morning. And just as I reflect on the conversation and think more about this essential emergency service in our community, heck, I saw an ambulance on a neighboring street in my neighborhood just a couple of weeks ago. Somebody obviously had a medical issue and an ambulance had to be called. Please remember, when you encounter an ambulance or any other emergency vehicle on the road and their lights are flashing and their sirens are on, get the HE double hockey sticks out of the way, okay? Pull over to the right and stop. You will get where you need to go, but they need to get where they need to go even more urgently than you do. I just got this email to Mike at 570news.com. I don't know how our IT department would feel if I click on this link, because apparently my completed documents are ready. And all I have to do is sign this document that's been sent to me by the Albanian Football Association. I didn't know Albania had a football association, but surely to goodness, this request for me to sign this document is a safe link for me to click, right? I mean, it's the Albanian Football Association. I love me some football, even if it is soccer in Albania. I won't click the link. I just thought I'd share what's coming into my inbox so far today. An update from the 570 News Center on the way, and then we mind Ottawa's business with the Blacklocks reporter next on the Mike Farwell Show. 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Wednesday mornings at this time, we check in with the only reporter-owned and operated newsroom covering our nation's capital. It is the Blacklocks Reporter. It is absolutely worth a look at blacklocks.ca and a subsequent subscription, because you get the stories there that you don't get everywhere else. Tom Korski is the managing editor with Blacklocks Reporter, joins us for this conversation every week. Tom, good morning.
Morning, Mike.
Chrystia Freeland is out of her own accord, I presume. What will the legacy be of our former finance minister, Tom?
Oh, I can think of a trillion legacies, which is the amount she increased the federal debt ceiling. We actually have one of those. It's under the Borrowing Authority Act. And in 3 years, Minister Freeland raised the debt ceiling by $1 trillion. That is equal to approximately about 40%, about half of the entire annual production of the entire Canadian economy. It is the biggest spending spree in Canadian history. It admittedly includes some overspending unavoidable in the lockdown days. But in her last budget, Minister Freeland missed her deficit target by 55% for no apparent reason. They couldn't stop, Mike. They just couldn't stop. And anyone who is of an age who remembers the overspending in the 1980s, there's been peer-reviewed research on this. The subsequent tax load affected lifetime earnings for those of us who were in the workforce in 1980-81. And if you know a young wage earner today, say a silent prayer for them. My goodness, they are going to be paying the interest on those bonds for the rest of their working lives. I'm sorry to be that grim this early in the morning, Mike.
Well, Tom, you got to be realistic, too. And Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre has said that maybe Ms. Freeland is getting the heck out of Dodge before the deficit number and the budget is released in November. Maybe there's something to that.
I think she also found the transport assignment, Minister of Transport, a sort of demeaning. She would be the first Rhodes Scholar to be a Minister of Transport. She's not really an expert in trucking. And even then, there was not, her tenure was not without controversy. You recall the Commons Transport Committee is curious to know why the taxpayers were financing a $1 billion loan for the construction of 4 ferries at a Chinese shipyard for use by the BC Ferry Service, a Crown corporation. All taxpayers are financing that. And Freeland, when testified in committee just this past July, said she was shocked to learn that there was such an arrangement. Only later did everyone learn that her department knew about that for months. So you see, this is the thing about transparency. It's always a cold north wind, isn't it?
Well, I guess Ms. Freeland wouldn't have to worry about the budget and the deficit number contained therein anyway, because according to the government House leader, as we got back into the House of Commons this week, Tom, the opposition should just do its job and not oppose the budget when it's released.
Wouldn't life be sweeter if all our tormentors would just do what they were told? Government House Leader Stephen McKinnon, hoping and dreaming. You're right. He was talking to reporters. He said, we have a mandate. We're going to lead. Get out of our way. Just vote as you're told. Never mind the criticism. Unfortunately for Stephen McKinnon, and I assume this was performative for the home team in front of the cameras, but he knows that they don't have the votes in committee, including the Commons Finance Committee. The government does not have a majority of votes in any committee, and he is not getting his budget through without the votes in the Commons Finance Committee, and that applies to all other bills. This budget, by the way, Mike, coming up November 4th, that deficit is just going to be a dandy. On their best day, they predicted $42 billion. And people in the know have said, you can just double that. Those are staggering figures.
Stop being so grim/realistic, Tom. It's early. It's early still. That cold north wind that you referenced earlier of transparency is blowing through the Governor General's residence. But how much is it that we are spending just to outfit the Governor General?
She billed $7,500 last year. Another $7,500. She's billed as much as $36,000 in an 18-month period. This included almost $1,200 for new shoes last year. Apparently, the Governor General didn't own footwear. Why is this significant? MPs have told her you must stop the spending. The Commons Government Operations Committee has pleaded with the Governor General to stop the spending, and she won't stop. There's been outrage after Mary Simon took a $1 million junket to Dubai 3 years ago, and they got caught. The in-flight catering on this junket alone was $93,000. And some sad news here, Mike. The then Deputy Secretary to Mary Simon, her name was Christine McIntyre. She broke the iron law of Ottawa. Mike, if you're ever summoned to testify in committee, you can have a terrible memory. I don't remember, never lie, because they will find out. And Ms. McIntyre said, whoa, in-flight catering, we just ate regular airplane food. MPs found out later it was Beaujolais and beef Wellington. And so the moral there is, if you get caught, you're going to have to wear it. And this is across all parties. They've been fed up with Mary Simon for a long, long time.
Beaujolais and beef Wellington. I had that on my last Air Canada flight to Vancouver, I think, didn't I?
I don't remember that. Isn't that what you order on your 40th wedding anniversary?
You're right. I don't remember. I should have said, you already taught me. I forgot the lesson so quickly. Okay, one more before I let you go, Tom. In our business, when we follow the news and stories, develop over time, it's like the gift that keeps on giving. But never have I ever recalled a story about a little $80,000 app, Tom. It was just an $80,000 federal government expenditure, but ArriveCan is still the gift that keeps on giving to folks like the Blacklocks reporter.
Almost $60 million it wound up costing. Isn't that something? France had an identical app. They only spent $9 million. We were, I guess, 5 times better. $60 million we spent on that app. And there was a lead contractor who's now under RCMP investigation. The police raided their offices for suspicion of fraudulent billing. There were emails that vanished. And a man who was at the time Chief Information Technology Officer for Canada had email contacts with the lead contractor. And on a Thursday, he was told, Min Doan was his name, Mr. Doan, get those emails ready. Someone wants to see them under access to information. That weekend, according to the official version, I was transferring the batteries into my laptop, and I corrupted my entire emails, destroyed the emails. Problem, that's a felony. It's punishable by jail time under the Access to Information Act. Mike, an investigative report is due on that by year's end. That's a big, big deal. Many chickens are coming home to roost.
Isn't it just like testifying before a committee? You're just supposed to say I can't remember. My memory's it's just foggy.
Mike, never do anything you wouldn't do in the town square on broad daylight. If you just follow that simple rule, but they don't listen. No one listens.
We listen to you every Wednesday morning, Tom. Keep up the great work at Blacklocks.
Thank you, Mike.
Tom Korski, managing editor of the Blacklocks Reporter, the only reporter-owned and operated newsroom covering our nation's capital without the politics or the punditry. And I just want to come back. Look, of all the things we talked about, that $80,000 ArriveCan app that ends up costing $60 million. That's well documented, but the story just keeps on going deeper. And as Tom says, there are many chickens coming home to roost. Then you've got the $1 trillion debt ceiling, the massive deficit. We will learn in November. Of course we will. It's not going to be a pretty financial picture. But I always come back to some of the littler things. And maybe it's because in my advancing years, I've come to quite enjoy a good pair of shoes. But how is it that our Governor General, despite pleas from our members of Parliament to stop with the spending, Tom documented that flight and the fancy foods that were provided within, but more than $1,100 just on shoes, thousands in total of wardrobe extras, because you see, when it's not your money, it is so much easier to spend. But that nickel and diming really does chafe my chaps. It gets to me, and Blacklocks reporter talks about it as the $1,117 in new shoes, in addition to thousands worth of wardrobe extras. We are in dire need, MPs say, of more transparency, that cold north wind that continues to blow through Ottawa. Tom Korski and the Black Locks Reporter joining us every Wednesday morning at 10 here on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. I can't believe it's so close for another year. More than 2 decades of opening the doors in Waterloo Region. It's called Doors Open Waterloo Region, and it is this Saturday. The coordinator of the event, Kelly Spencer, joins me in studio. Great to see you. Good morning.
Great to see you, Mike.
I don't know how we managed to get your time here in the studio. Shouldn't you be out making sure all the locks have been unlocked and all the doors will be open on Saturday?
That'll be Saturday.
Okay.
That'll be Saturday. I always have time for you.
Thank you. Early Saturday morning, I can just picture you dressed like a cat burglar going to every place just to ensure, yes, the doors are actually open. Can you take us back, Kelly, to where this all begins, how it all got started?
Yep. So this is a provincial program. So lots of folks have seen Doors Open signs probably throughout many communities throughout Ontario. So it's put together by Doors Open Ontario, which is part of the Ontario Heritage Trust, and municipalities can opt in. And Waterloo Region has opted in for 23 years now, as you mentioned. So this is the 23rd annual event. And it's basically this fabulous opportunity entirely for free, to go and explore really cool sites and meet really awesome people who manage these sites throughout the community. It is just a fabulous day.
How do you go about curating an event like this to determine the 23 locations that folks will enjoy this weekend?
Yeah, it's tough. We generally don't repeat sites year over year. There are a couple of exceptions to that rule, but generally we try to mix it up. And sites express interest. So if you are a site that you think you might fit this bill and you're interested for next year, just reach out. We generally work like a year in advance. And then depending on, there's like a lot of different factors, because for the visitors, you want to try to cluster sites together. So it's a pleasant experience for them. If you're going to visit one site and there's another site a couple kilometers away, then you'll go hit that one up too. So there's sort of all of those different nuances of putting the thing together. So there's lots of different factors in selecting sites, but it all starts with sites, putting their hand up and saying, yeah, I think we'd really be a great fit for this. And obviously I handpick some sites too. But yeah, it's kind of a crazy mishmash of all of those things that happens really early in the year. Yeah.
What does the visitor gain from this?
I think the visitor, I think there are many, many things to gain from this. First of all, it's engagement in your own community, and we all win when we're all more engaged in our own community. For the sites, it's a great opportunity for them to showcase what they have, and they get really excited about that. I mean, some of these sites are public-facing all of the time. They're open to the public all the time, but a lot of them are not. And so it's an opportunity for them to tell their story of their place. And generally, overall, it's just a great day to hang out with the people you like or love, or both, or tolerate, whoever it is you're hanging out with, and to go explore some of these places. I always say it's like a prompt. Doors Open and community events like this, they're prompts. They're prompts to go and explore your own community, because what do? We live in this great place full of all of these amazing buildings and amazing people and amazing stories. And we work our life, we come to work, we raise our kids, we pay our bills, and the sort of droll of everyday life takes over. And when you go away on vacation, you go into vacation mode, you go to a different community. What's the first thing you do after you're done exploring the beach or like eating the ice cream or whatever it is that you do? You start to explore their community because you're in vacation mode, right? And so you learn their stories and you see their buildings. But in your own amazing community of Waterloo Region, you're too busy living your life to get out there. So use this as a prompt. Use Doors Open and community events like this as a prompt to be a tourist in your own community for the day and get out there and really check it out. I've been doing this for quite a while now, and I always learn something new and find a new site that I didn't know about every single time. It's such an amazing place.
That is the secret sauce. You absolutely nailed it, Kelly. And we took the opportunity as the Farwells last week to be tourists in our own town. It just worked out that way. And what a treat it is just to slow down, take a moment to explore what we have. So can you give us a little hint as to what of the 23 sites we'll be seeing opened doors this weekend?
Oh, wow. Yeah. There are 4 churches, 3 museums. There's everything from heritage sites to, of course, TV station, Rogers. Got to get a little plug in there for Rogers.
Thank you for that.
And talk about sites really going out of their way to make this a great event. Rogers is, I'm not just saying this because of where I am currently, but they really, that's a great example. You get to go in and meet the people who work at Rogers TV, meet a lot of the volunteers. They're all super passionate. You really get to see what's going on behind the scenes, something you would never have the opportunity to experience otherwise. You get some hands-on elements. It's great for people of all ages. So that was a bit of a tangent there. I apologize for that. 2 architecture studios, which is very cool. And there's actually some special kids programming presented by Urban Youth. So this is for kids that might be interested in design, urban planning, building, that sort of thing. This is special programming for those 2 kids for those kids at these 2 architecture studios. We have Perimeter Institute, of course, which is celebrating its 25th anniversary. And I will add a little caveat there. This is not a ticketed event, except Perimeter Institute, because they get so many people. They were in it last year, and they had over 5,000 people attend. So they have some timed entry ticketing, which is free, and you don't have to have that ticket, but it definitely will help you. So that's a little caveat to these sites. That's the only one that's ticketed. Heritage sites, like, of course, the jail, the Waterloo Gaol, and Governor's House, that's always a hit. Homer Watson House and Gallery. If you're a fan of Homer Watson, which I am, very cool dude, you will love the programming there. And that's, that's another great example. These museums are open all the time. Churches are theoretically open all the time. You can go to them anytime. And people sometimes say, well, I can go to that church anytime I want. Why would I have to go on that day? And I always say, when's the last time you went to that church? You never went to that church. You never went to just see it and check it out. You've driven past it 1,000 times. It's a cool looking church. You wonder what it's like inside. This is your prompt, actually. It's your permission to actually go and check it out. Same with the museums. We have these fabulous museums. The Ken Sealing Museum is the largest community museum in Canada. I might have bitten off a little more than I can chew there. Either Ontario or Canada. Very substantial. Anyways, but when's the last time you were there, unless you have some special occasion. So use this as a prompt to go and explore all of those things. 23 sites, a wide variety of stuff.
And, September the 20th, this Saturday, is a good day to visit Homer Watson House because you don't want to go at Halloween. That place is haunted. I don't care what anybody says, okay? She's hanging around upstairs. You know what's going on over there. How do we find out more? Is there a map that we can use to get us around, Kelly? What can we do?
There's all kinds of tools. If you go to the Region Waterloo website and you go to the Doors Open page, which will be very easy for you to find, there's a whole little toolkit there of goodies for you. Google Map, which will make it very easy to maneuver, a brochure, an event guide, and even a kids activity guide that you can download for the kids as well. So all the things you need, and our socials, Instagram, Twitter, X, and Facebook, Instagram. The main ones. Anyways, go to any of those.
Is it under Doors Open or Doors Open Waterloo Region?
Yeah, Doors Open Waterloo Region.
Doors Open Waterloo Region.
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And the region's website, of course, is regionofwaterloo.ca. You'll find the Doors Open page there. I'm on it right now. Mm-hmm. Everything you need, including that brochure and passport, a map, etc., the event guide. Big day on Saturday. Are you ready?
Yes, totally ready.
Kelly Spencer joining us in studio. Always good to see you. I love your enthusiasm for this event. Here's to 23 more, right?
Yes, exactly. I hope so. Yes, indeed. Thanks so much.
Thanks very much for being here.
All right.
Kelly Spencer is the coordinator of Doors Open Waterloo Region. Yes, the doors are open to 23 sites in and around our community. Absolutely free. FREE free. This Saturday. Check out regionofwaterloo.ca and the Doors Open page from there. Enjoy yourself exploring our community. Be a tourist in your own town this weekend. This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. It is an organization that has been around since 1988, beginning with audiences around 100 people or so. Now, as many as 600 attend these seminars. The organization is Third Age Learning KW, or TAL. The third age being that stage of life beyond youth and beyond working life, when you've got the time, with a little more freedom for personal fulfillment. You might call it retirement. You might call it the third age. And Third Age Learning KW is about to kick off its fall series of seminars, back by popular demand. And maybe our next guest is that as well, back by popular demand, because she used to be the mayor of Waterloo. She has stayed involved and engaged in our community, and she is now the new president of Third Age Learning KW. Brenda Halloran joins the show. Your worship, good morning.
Well, good morning, you dear newly married man.
You're right about the newly married part. How dear I am, I think, depends on the day now, Brenda.
Well, I hope your bride thinks that. That's all that matters, Mike. And how's marriage to Jen? I mean, who could be the luckiest man in the world to be married to that wonderful woman?
You are so right about that, and thank you for saying so and recognizing that. It's been a great week so far. We'll see how the next several go.
You've made it. You've made it your first week.
That's right.
Well, congratulations to both of you. And Mike, she's a lucky woman too, because you certainly are a wonderful fella.
It's very kind of you to say. Let's talk about this new role for you, Brenda, the president of Third Age Learning KW. What is it that attracted you to this?
Well, it's never too late to learn something new. That's kind of been the way I led my elderly years. You were very kind when you were saying youth. More mature. But when I saw the opportunity, and I spoke to some of the people on the board and the past President Ron, and it just sounded like a great opportunity to get re-engaged back into what I really love, and that's to learn new things. In this community, we're so blessed because we have universities and the college, and I think just Waterloo Region is about learning and continuous learning and wanting to know more. And we're kind of a global, innovative place in the world, and this just fits kind of what I wanted to get involved in. So yeah, I'm pretty honored to have been accepted into this role.
How is it that you remain engaged in your community since your time serving the community as mayor of Waterloo?
Well, Mike, I just think it's really important that if you are able to get involved and help others, then you should. There's a lot of need in the community. There's a lot of people who need our help, and I just feel compelled to help out still. I went through some really difficult times in my life, and I've been pretty open about them and spoken about them to the community. And during those times, Mike, many people stepped up and helped me. Strangers, people I didn't know, the region, the city, everybody that could help me did. And I feel so compelled and responsible that I should be able to do that for others now, because people did it for me.
The falls.
And plus, it keeps you young.
And if it's one thing, I'm just reflecting back on the conversation we just had on the show with Kelly Spencer from Doors Open Waterloo Region, and all of these opportunities we're going to have this weekend, and seeing things like this community offers you an awful lot of opportunity to stay young and be involved, doesn't it?
It really does. There's something for everyone, and even if you've got 1 or 2 hours, spare hours a week, regardless of what age you are, step up. This community needs to get our volunteers back engaged. We're finding a bit of a shortage in certain areas. So I'm encouraging people, step up and give us a couple hours a week, and what a difference that would make in this community to helping others.
The upcoming fall series at Third Age Learning KW, tickets have now gone on sale. It's called Back by Popular Demand, bringing back some of the most popular presenters from the last decade or so. What can we expect from this fall series, Brenda?
Well, some of the lectures are really fascinating, and I'm looking forward to them. So the first one is called Spirituality and Humor, the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. We've got one on Vladimir Putin and the making of modern Russia. neurodegeneration, about what should I be worried about, and a lot about Parkinson's. We've got, of course, some talk about Trump and his phenomenon, what's happening in Canada, the power and effect of protest music. I mean, it's health and fitness. There's so many different things. So there's a little bit of everything for everybody, and we're everyone's welcome. Like it is, spoken about as third age learning, but if you are not in your mature years and you find any of these lectures interesting, please join us. So the cost of the tickets for 8 lectures, an hour and a half lecture, is only $50 up until October 4th, and that includes HST and your fees. And after that, it's $60. And if you can't make the full sessions, all 8 of them, then you can just come to the individual sessions for $10 at the door. I mean, it's so reasonable. We start our first session on October 14th at Rim Park, there from 1:30 to 3. And as you had said, we were up to, before COVID, 600 people. Now we've got ticket sales up to 400. So people are really interested. And I think everybody, there's so much going on in the world. There's so many things that are intriguing, and I think we can take the time to learn, and why not? We're hoping a lot of people come and join us, and we get up to 600 people again.
There really is so much going on. And as I look at the list of speakers and topics for the fall series, Brenda, you mentioned Donald Trump. His name comes up frequently. Vladimir Putin, the influence of China. As someone who was involved in politics, albeit locally, but when you look at the world today and the political climate, what's your reaction to it?
I think we're in a really troubled time, and I think people are feeling very insecure and concerned about where the world's heading. I think it's a time when we should be looking to, within our community again at how do we help each other, because we can't change the world. We can hear about it, we can be worried about it, but I think it's really important that instead of saying, well, what can I do? You say, there's a lot I can do to help people in my community and make a difference. So, as much as it's troubling and it's worrisome, there are other people who need help, and let's do that, and maybe get rid of some of that worry by helping others.
Yeah, and I think, that really brings it home for people, because literally that is where it starts, right? Right at home, in our own backyard. There are lots of things globally that we can be concerned about, but taking some action, however small, can be really meaningful in our own community.
Well, I truly believe that, Mike, and you do too. I mean, you're out there doing a lot and making a difference in the community, and I encourage everybody to just step up and do that, and to come to our lecture series. I'm really looking forward to them. And, people who have been to them in the past really enjoy just the opportunity to socialize and be in a big group of people again, and to learn something that we wouldn't have an opportunity to hear, on a day-to-day basis. So come and join us.
Absolutely. $50 for the entire series, $10 for the individual seminars if you'd like to attend those lectures. And Brenda, I was so happy to see your name attached as the president of TAL-KW. So congratulations on that, and thanks for joining the show this morning.
Thank you so much, Mike. I look forward to seeing you again and again. Congratulations on your marriage.
Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
Yes.
Okay, bye-bye. Brenda Halloran is the new president at Third Age Learning KW. I like the way they look at it. As I said earlier, it's not about being old or even being retired. It's that third age or stage of life, right? From youth into your working life, into that time where you have a little bit more freedom for personal fulfillment. And you can find some of that through this lecture series. The fall series is entitled Back by Popular Demand. As you heard Brenda and I talk about, Donald Trump's name comes up frequently, as does Vladimir Putin's. The power of protest music and what that looks like in the age of Donald Trump, and even getting into things like those Fitbits and other self-tracking devices we use to determine our level of health and fitness. All of these things come together in the speaker series for the fall, which runs through the beginning part of December. As you heard Brenda mention, the entire series, $50 is all it costs. You can attend every one of them, or if you want to just show up for a one-off, it's a $10 ticket to Join a group of like-minded and similarly aged individuals to learn a little bit more, to network and to socialize, to explore some interesting ideas about our world today. Third Age Learning KW, the fall series, back by popular demand. The website is the acronym TAL, T as in Thomas, A as in Alpha, L as in Llama. TAL-KW.ca, Third Age Learning, TAL-KW.ca, and you can get tickets right there for the fall series, back by popular demand. I might say the same, back by popular demand, about the next event we're going to be discussing, because it is a third year for the Multicultural Festival in Elmira. And we're going to talk about it coming up on the Mike Farwell Show. Stay with us, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. We have been chock full of in-studio guests today, which I love because there's just something more personal about seeing a face and reading body language as opposed to just talking to a voice on the phone that's like a phantom coming in through the speakers. And also, when I get returning guests in the studio, I mean, I just pat myself on the back and say, well, they're coming back because you didn't screw it up too much the first time, Farwell. So very happy to welcome back to the studio Abby Cooper, who's the founder and executive director of HOPE, which stands for Hearts Open for Everyone. Abby, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. Thanks for having me back again.
Thanks for coming back. So I didn't screw up too much last year.
No, it was awesome. That was great. And I love being here. So
love having you here. Love what you're doing with the Multicultural Festival in Elmira, the third annual, which is coming up.
Yes. It's this Saturday.
It's this Saturday.
September the 20th.
Yeah.
And we've extended it from 11 to 6. Instead of 12 to 5.
Okay, we'll get more into that, but I want to take it back a couple of steps, sure. Abby, to HOPE, Hearts Open for Everyone. What was the idea behind it? How did all of this get started for you?
Well, HOPE was created to bring all people together, and to create a more welcoming and inclusive community, and that we do that by kind of bringing in representation from different cultures, and raising awareness of these different diverse cultures, and making people feel a lot more welcome and feel a sense of belonging in our community.
And if I'm not mistaken, the origins of this really were rooted in perhaps the lack of those voices, that feeling that maybe everybody wasn't as included as they could be in Woolwich Township at the time.
Yeah, and I think when you think of a rural township, you don't really think about diverse voices. And yes, maybe there was a time at one point where it wasn't as diverse, but because it's growing and there's so many more people coming to the area, and even at my son's school, like every year, I just see more and more diverse children, and it just makes me feel so happy to know that my son's going to learn more about different cultures.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we were just chatting off the air, and I think this is such a feather in your cap. So congratulations. It's HOPE, right? Hearts Open for Everyone has now just been registered as a nonprofit, which is a big, huge step.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I'm really excited about that.
Absolutely. What does that help you do?
It actually opens up opportunities for grants. A lot of our work is funded by a lot of amazing organizations, and that's what allows us to continue to do this work, and also to allow people to have access to these kinds of programs for free. So, and even the festival, it's free. So, so that's one of the amazing things that we do, and trying to make it accessible and reducing barriers, making sure that everyone feels like they can attend and all our programs.
How does it feel for you, Abby? I mean, this is 2 and maybe coming up on 3 years into this, and you're able to take this step as a team.
Honestly, our team has grown a lot since then. In our third year, we've improved so much. We've received feedback from vendors, performers, and attendees, and the volunteers. So we're constantly collecting all this feedback and creating a stronger more unified approach with all our programming. So the festival is going to be that much more better. We have 70 volunteers this year for the festival,
Amazing.
which is amazing. And we're hoping to get in like over 1,200 people so that can, with that many volunteers, everyone's going to be supported in such a meaningful way.
Okay, so let's talk about the festival itself. As we already mentioned, it's coming up on Saturday. Gibson Park, same place it always is.
Same place.
In Elmira. But instead of just going noon to 5, we're going 11 to 6 this Saturday. What can we expect at the 3rd annual Elmira Multicultural Festival?
So this year we have a lot to see and do.
Good.
So because we've extended the time, we really wanted to make it jam-packed and to ensure that everyone feels like they can just stay for the entire day. There's truly something for everyone, and it's going to leave you feeling refreshed, inspired, energized, mind, body, and soul. So we've got you can get your hair braided by Connie Roy at the Comfort Cuts tent with a modern twist on traditional Indigenous techniques. You could try beautiful henna designs from our MFE youth ambassadors, new this year, who've been helping us with the activity side. And or you can get into the festival spirit by getting your face painted at the face painting station. And you can get moving at the Indigenous lacrosse activity area with Kevin Sandy, learning the origins of the historic sport while having a blast. And if you want to slow down and get creative, you can try Madhubani painting, origami techniques, or beaded bracelets from the Canadian Clay and Glass Gallery. All of these items you could take home. You can also take part in the community mural art piece that's going to be designed by our local artist, Jen Horst, which will be on permanent display at the Waterloo Region Library Breslau branch. We've also partnered with the library again this year to offer the Cultures United tent, where you can celebrate global cultures right here in Elmira. So explore traditions, crafts, and tastes from Bangladesh, Assam, Pakistan, Romania, First Nations, Guyana, Turkey, and Persia, all brought to life by Waterloo Region residents sharing their heritage. And then located near the stage, the Mind and Heart First Aid tent is where you'll get free support and resources from the Trauma and Embodiment Association of Ontario. So it's perfect for a little mind and heart care. Or you could just grab your lawn chair and enjoy the festival. The performances are amazing and will make you probably not even need your chair. You'll probably just be getting up and dancing. And then I just wanted to note that almost everything is free at the festival, except for items at the market, food booths, and the Indigenous hair braiding station, which has a small fee. And then if getting here is a challenge, you can contact us at info@heartsopenforeveryone.ca, and our team will be able to assist you into getting here, because that's really important to us, because we're really dedicated to reducing barriers, and we've made sure that the festival is accessible to everyone. And we've added extra accessible parking, portable accessible washroom, and we're also holding it in that beautiful Gibson Park, which is also an accessible park.
So the email address again is info@heartsopenforeveryone.ca. That is an awful lot, Abby. 11 to 6, Gibson Park in Elmira this Saturday. What goes into putting together a festival like this? You didn't start last week, that's for sure.
Yeah, we've actually started this year, and we started planning it in January. So it's been a lot of time and dedication that our volunteers have worked hard in putting together, and each one of them brings so much joy and excitement and their unique experiences and expertise to these tasks that they have. So it just makes it that much more special. And they're all from our community. So people get a taste of what we really, truly enjoy. We're also we've been just grateful for the support that we've received, because honestly, all of these activities wouldn't be possible without the organizations like the Waterloo Regional Heritage Foundation, the Waterloo Region Community Foundation, the Upstream Fund, Woolwich Community Health Center, and Woolwich Township. Their funding has literally allowed us to expand with more performances, activities, and culture than before.
really impressive stuff. I'm sure it'll be a great event on Saturday. Thanks for being here, and thanks for everything you do.
Thank you so much for having me, Mike.
Abby Cooper joins us, the founder, executive director of Hearts Open for Everyone, or HOPE, the third annual multicultural festival in Elmira this Saturday, 11 to 6 at Gibson Park. This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
The Whiz Kids had won it, Bobby Thompson had done it, and Yogi read the comics all the while. Rock and roll was being born, marijuana we would scorn. So down on the corner the national pastime went on trial. We're talking baseball, Klazuski, Campanella, talking baseball. The man and Bobby Fella, the Scooter, the Barber and the Nuke. They knew them all from Boston to Dubuque, especially Willie, Mickey, and the Duke.
I don't know about you, but this is my favorite time of the week. Wednesday mornings, 11 o'clock. The one, the only Blue Jay Hunter joins us in studio to talk about Blue Jays baseball. And I remember when the roller coaster was headed, no, it wasn't heading, it was hurtling down. And we were wondering, what's this team going to do? Which players will be moved? That was much, much earlier in the season. The fortunes of the Blue Jays turned a long time ago, and Ian Hunter, Blue Jay Hunter, the Blue Jays will not let go of their grip on first place.
Yeah, this is wild that we're now.
We need a microphone there, Joshua. Nope, that's not the one, Josh. We need another one. We need the microphone that Ian is on.
Number 2.
There we go.
Yeah, this has certainly been a wild ride, hasn't it, Mike? So they're now, what is it, six in a row here. The magic number to clinch the division is down to 6. I believe their magic number to clinch a playoff spot is 2. I know I didn't see this coming. Maybe even as far back as like June, I just assumed this might be a 500 team at best, but the total has been greater than the sum of its parts on this club, and there's been a lot of overperformers, a few underperformers, but it's been a really special year. And I've had a few people ask me, and I still don't know how to answer this question. Does this team remind you of 92, 93? And it's a different animal, a totally different era. But I think the unique thing about this team, the way they're positioned, is that when they go down, they're not out. Previous years, the Jays really struggled to generate offense, but they're able to do it so many different ways. Like, they've got power hitters. Dalton Varsho can get a bunt single down. There's guys that can play the hit and run. It's such a diverse and versatile team that going into the playoffs, I feel like this roster is much more well positioned than they ever were going into the playoffs in like 2022 and 2023.
And something that I've really noticed, and I, in fairness, noticed it before, but it just, I guess when they're winning, it might stand out more. And in particular, I will single out their first baseman. This team plays good defense, Ian.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We saw that on display the last couple nights. 2 nights ago, stellar infield defense by Addison Barger and Andres Jimenez. Again, I believe Jimenez made another great play up the middle. To, like, when you're a pitcher, to know that you have that kind of defense behind your back, you can just kind of throw balls in the zone and let the guys take care of it. It must feel like it just must make them feel so much more relaxed and able to do what they need to do and let the defense take care of the rest. So, yeah, this team has been strong on defense over the last several years, but at this year, it's at so many different positions, right? It's not just the outfield, it's the middle infield, both corners at third and first, and even the catchers too. Kirk and Heineman have been stellar defenders.
Okay, we're going to come back to some of those numbers that you mentioned a moment ago, the magic number of 2 to clinch the division, and more, because when you were here last week, we were talking about if the Blue Jays can go 500, if they could go 500 in their remaining 18 games, the Yankees would have to go something like 13-5, the Red Sox 12-4, something like that. But you just mentioned 6 in a row now for the Jays. So those numbers looking really good. But I want to start with a couple of things from recent games, including last night. And you tell me, Blue Jay Hunter, because you know, like, interference or not interference. Oh, now listen, Josh, you got it. You see what you do? You got the microphones on and my computer off. Is my computer on now? Okay, I got the thumbs up. Ian, please. I set this up so well, and I'm going to set it up again.
We'll redo it.
Okay, here we go.
2-2 pitch, lifted to right field and deep. Racing back, Lucas at the warning track, leaps at the wall. It's gone. 3-run homer, Brandon Lau. However, confusion on the field. A fan appeared to reach over the wall, and I think they're going to take a look at this one.
Steve Bartman back? Is that guy that's been banned from Yankee Stadium back? He took one away from the Yankees, if I'm not mistaken, several years ago. Anyway, what was your take? Interference?
Yeah, absolutely. The odd thing is that the umpire call, they said it was fan interference, but it would have been a home run anyway, which I've never heard in my life. If there's fan interference involved, that's not a home run. At best, that might have been a double, but you saw that fan, he had like 3/4 of his body over the fence. So he was totally getting in the way of Nathan Lucas making that catch. So it's just, what is it with the Jays in Tampa Bay, right? Like, the oddest things happen. I realize that's a minor league ballpark too. That may be another thing where they don't have the high def cameras to kind of figure that out because it's a minor league stadium. And then I believe the next inning, I don't know if you have a clip that you wanted to play of that, but when Nathan Lucas hit a ball out, and there was also fan interference on that one. And I thought, John Schneider is going to blow his lid if this does not get called a home run. I think Major League Baseball kind of threw the Blue Jays a bone there, but yeah, that was such a weird game, and it just kind of underscores how just bizarre things happen to the Blue Jays in Tampa Bay.
And yet, even though, like, one of the problems with the Jays in Tampa Bay historically has been a lack of success on the field, even though they needed to rely on Hoffman again last night to close it out, they were able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, that was a pretty scary 8th and 9th inning, right? Like, you had Brendan Little come in, and the Brendan Little experience as of late has been, hey, let's walk a guy or two and try to make this as stressful as possible. So John Schneider went to Sir Anthony Dominguez, got the final out of the 8th, but then he came in and couldn't throw strikes in the 9th. So I think John Schneider said that Hoffman was the last guy he wanted to pull into that game. Blue Jays had to use 6 relievers to close out that game. So ideally, you're not bringing in Hoffman with a guy on base, but he didn't look good at the start. The Rays were on everything. I don't think there was a pitch swing and miss from any Rays hitter up until the final batter of that game. So, again, a nervous 9th, not ideal, but the Blue Jays still came out with the win there.
All right, let's go to the phones because our good friend Dave from Cambridge is interested in talking Blue Jays baseball. Hey, Dave.
Hey, good morning. I may have my facts wrong, but I hope you'll correct me and bring me a quick little lesson. You mentioned the improved play around first base. Now, if I remember correctly, the former first baseman of the New York Yankees, who was rumored to take over as coach of the Blue Jays when Bongo, whatever his name was a coach. And it's quietened down. You don't hear about him anymore, but he's still there on the bench, whatever his role is. And you think the improved play at first base has something to do with that individual. Thank you.
Don Mattingly's got to be the guy that Dave's talking about.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I mean, of course. So he kind of had, I don't want to know if you call it a demotion. He was the Blue Jays offensive coordinator, quote unquote, last year. And then he was kind of relegated back to the bench role, involved in a little more in the defense. I'll give credit to Mattingly there, but again, I think it's just kind of the personnel that the Jays have. They have a lot of stellar defenders. I mean, Vlad's won a Gold Glove. And he's playing really, really good defense at first base. You've got Dalton Varsho, who's a Gold Glover in center field. Miles Straw is an exceptional outfielder as well. Andres Jimenez, a Platinum Glover, one of the best infield defenders too. And Alejandro Kirk is a really good pitch framer and blocker behind the plate. So you add all that up together. I know run prevention isn't the sexiest thing, but what do they say in the playoffs, right? Pitching and defense, right? That's what always plays. And the Blue Jays certainly have one of the better pitching staffs and defenses in baseball.
All right. One more quickly before the break, because I wanted to mention Dave, who called the show yesterday or the day, it had to be yesterday. Anyway, after Trey Yesavage's debut and said, imagine that, somebody living up to the hype. And did he ever, establishing a new record for strikeouts in a first start with the club. So a little bit, Ian, from you and your perspective on Yesavage and how the Jays now use him moving forward. Is he a bullpen guy? Is he a spot starter? What's going to happen? Yeah,
I mean, this is another case where the Jays have an embarrassment of riches when it comes to starting pitchers. You know, now they're basically 7 deep on the big league roster, including Eric Lauer, who's been bumped to the bullpen. But yeah, that was an electric debut. One of the best pitching debuts in Blue Jays history. He threw 19 splitters, not to get all geeky on you here. He threw 19 splitters and the Rays swung and missed at 11 of them. Okay, so they had nothing on him. He almost pitched an immaculate inning, which is 9 consecutive strikes, but there was one call that was kind of questionable. But still, I think they maybe want to trot him out as often as possible here, right? Like he could be, I think they're going to keep him on for 4 days rest as a traditional starting pitcher. So maybe we see him again in this Kansas City series over the weekend. But even if you don't, like, you love him as a bullpen option to maybe come in and throw 1 or 2 innings and get the middle of an order and neutralize some left-handed hitters. I mean, it's just another pitching weapon that the Blue Jays have here, which is really untraditional. Normally at this time of year, you're running on fumes when it comes to starting pitchers, but the Blue Jays just seem to be plucking them up out of nowhere, and they have an embarrassment of riches right now.
Ian Hunter is the Blue Jay Hunter. He joins us every Wednesday morning, 11 o'clock, to talk some Blue Jays baseball. We'll get into those numbers, magic and otherwise, coming up. And was this the dumbest thing ever said on a baseball broadcast? I mean, the dumbest thing ever said on a baseball broadcast. We'll get into that, too, as we continue with Blue Jay Hunter here on the Mike Farwell Show. 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Just how close are the playoffs for the Toronto Blue Jays? We'll get into those numbers with Ian Hunter, our Blue Jay Hunter, and quite possibly the dumbest thing ever said on a baseball broadcast still to come. But Ron is with us on the phone. Good morning, Ron.
Good morning, guys. So I have a question, and I know this is going to sound kind of weird, but I've been noticing, like, with Biros and also with Chris Bassett, their pitching numbers have gone down as the amount that they're throwing out. I'm just wondering, are they having like an issue with them and they're just not sure what's going on, or
do you mean like their pitch count, or they're just not performing as well?
The pitch count plus their performing is not up there right now.
Okay. Ian, do you read anything into this?
Yeah, I just think their leashes are a little bit shorter this time of year. Typically those guys are workhorses, right? Like Jose Barrios is dating back to his MLB debut. I don't think he's been on the IL once. And Chris Bassett, it's a veteran guy, typically in the high, close to the 200s in terms of innings pitched. But I think because these games are ultra important, I think John Schneider tends to go to the bullpen a little bit earlier, just to go for like platoon advantages and things like that. But yeah, last night Barrios was not his sharpest. I mean, maybe that outcome of that game is a lot different if that home run, quote unquote, was brought back. Maybe he gets a bit of a longer leash, but you know, he had no strikeouts in that game. He wasn't really fooling many Rays batters. So in that case, I think that's why you turned it over to the bullpen pretty early. But yes, I have noticed that too. Like they're really not going deep into games. Like maybe 5 innings is kind of the cap on guys like that. Gosman doing the complete game last week, that was a bit of an outlier. But yeah, I think maybe 6 is the max for Blue Jays starters at this point in the season.
All right. Before this series with the Rays, the Jays were in the process of sweeping the Baltimore Orioles. And in the second game of that series, the fans, like I think any fan would do, were booing. The fans in Toronto were booing the pickoff move from against the Orioles. So, keeping the runner close. And when the throw goes over, the fans boo the pickoff move. And this led to the following from Brian Roberts on the Orioles TV broadcast.
It's very silly to me that people boo the pickoff moves now. A pickoff move helps you with the disengagement. It's like booing if a pitcher throws a ball.
I got to be real careful what I say. But sometimes we had some major questions about the baseball IQ of some Canadians here and there. I think, at times it felt like maybe they enjoyed or they knew a little bit more about hockey than baseball.
Brian Roberts asked after that, are we being broadcast in Canada? Don't worry, former Orioles Brian Roberts, former player. There is this thing called the internet. Was that not the dumbest thing Ian ever said on a baseball broadcast?
Yeah, it was pretty dumb. Every team does this.
Exactly.
Every team boos the pickoff move. I think maybe he just thought, they're broadcasting in Canada. Nobody's listening or watching this game. Well, meanwhile, there's over 1 million people watching Blue Jays games on a nightly basis. So, I think he might have thought he could get away with that. But luckily, as the broadcaster said, it's only on the internet. So somebody's going to get that clip up real quick.
Yeah, and he did apologize for it later, but later's a little bit too late. And one of my favorite responses from the internet was, I'm from Canada. I don't understand baseball all that well. What's a sweep? It's pretty good.
Yeah, good one. And of course, he has to throw the hockey thing in there, right? Like, right. I'm surprised you didn't mention maple syrup or poutine or ketchup chips or whatever.
Exactly. Enjoy that Orioles team that continues to spiral down the gutter this season.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Before we let you go, Ian, when you were here a week ago, we were talking about the Blue Jays. If they could go 9-9, if they could play 500 ball for the remainder of the season, it was a gargantuan task for the Yankees or Red Sox to catch them in the division. I've got to think that after 6 straight wins now, it's almost, I'm going to knock some wood, but it's almost impossible, is it not?
They're getting close here. I'm 99% sure on this math of mine. Jays are 5 up on the Yankees, which is essentially 5.5, because remember, the Jays are the tiebreaker over the Yankees. There's 11 games left to play. If the Blue Jays go 6-5, so a game over 500 or better, it doesn't matter if the Yankees go 11-0. The Blue Jays will win the division. Jays are also up 4 games on the Tigers for the best record in the AL and 6 games up on the Mariners for the next bye spot. So first of all, win the division. Second of all, be one of those top 2 teams in the American League. Ideally first, because then you get home field advantage. So it almost feels like a formality at this point. There's still time, but they control their own fate. I mean, 6-5, this is doable. Taking 2 already in this Tampa Bay series. I think if you get 1 more and get the heck out of Dodge, get out of that minor league ballpark, and then win 5 more games, I think they're in a good spot.
You and I were talking during the commercial break, and your inner Blue Jays pessimist, and it's well-founded. We even referenced 1987, the 7-game collapse against the Tigers at the end of the season. But, everybody's so excited about this team. I think you mentioned the 1 million people watching. I was saying that I feel like a fair weather fan, but I'm invested in this team every single night. I'm going to be out on the deck tonight, but the radio will be there. Like, it's just the history is keeping us from being a little bit too enthusiastic.
Yeah, I think so. And, shades of 1985, too, when the Jays were up 3-0 in their series against Kansas City. So,
damn you, George Brett.
There's, there's been a lot of heartache in Blue Jays history. But again, I kind of have to tell myself, if you're a fan, you got to sit back and enjoy this, right? I think once they clinch, everybody can kind of breathe a little bit. And then if they get the bye, they've got maybe a week off. So it'll be lots of rest. And then everyone's going to be super hyped for whoever they face in the playoffs. Because, I mean, yeah, their magic number is 2 to get into the playoffs. I mean, if you're in, you've got a chance, right? So getting that number 1 spot in the AL is going to be the best. But this has been a really special team to watch. I mean, they've got 47 comeback wins, Mike. Franchise record is 50, which was in, again, I want to say 1987. So is this a good or bad omen? I don't know, but we'll have to wait and see.
So much fun. I'm looking forward to next week. Thanks, Ian.
Thank you.
Ian Hunter is the Blue Jay Hunter. Joins us Wednesday mornings at 11 here on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
What would you do if I sang out of tune? Would you stand up and walk out on me? Lend me your ears and I'll sing you a song. I will try not to sing out of key. Yeah. Oh, baby,
we are going to get by with a little help from our friends on Political R&D this morning. Rob Deutschman, the RD in R&D, joins us every Wednesday morning, 11:30 for this segment. I'm not sure Rob will have any friends left in Woolwich Township by the time we're done today, though. Good morning, Rob.
Actually, that song was dedicated to your out-of-key comments on roundabouts, but that's for another day.
You save it for whatever day you want, pal. I'm always happy to tell you how wrong you are.
I've invited you for a tour. You refuse to go out with me to take a look at them anytime.
I don't need to. I see them every day, multiple times.
There you go. You know what? I'm going to stay out of Farwellville. It's just unsafe to be in Farwellville.
Farwellville is the happiest place on earth. Move over, Disney World. Here we come.
Drive as fast as you want. Ignore all the laws. Ignore the rules.
I don't ignore the laws, but I do drive as fast as I want. You know why? Because I'm an adult, Rob. I'm responsible. Get out of the nannies. There's no nanny state in Farwellville.
Well, you know what? Farwellville. I'm going to open an office in Farwellville.
You're welcome. You'll love the taxes. Oh, you will love the taxes.
I'll be busy with my personal injury practice.
Okay, as we get this conversation underway, we are focusing on Woolwich Township and the whopping budget, the tax increase in this budget document, 22% this year, 18% in each of the next 2 years. We likely won't land at that number, but as we get this conversation underway, Rob, I had Mayor Sandy Shantz on the show yesterday asking for some clarification here, and this is a brief summary of how the township got to this point.
About 12 years ago, there was a study done that looked at our infrastructure deficit, and they said to sort of fix it, to get back on track, you would need a 4.5% infrastructure increase annually, and we have not done that. So we're essentially getting further and further behind. There are actual comments of if you really wanted to fix it, would have looked closer to what Wilmot put out last year.
And what Wilmot put out last year, Rob, as you well know, was 51%, finished at 18%. So your thoughts?
Let's get on with it here.
I want to set the stage.
Stop. First off, you didn't really ask why they haven't done that for the past 10 years, okay? So I appreciate there's a study from 12 years
I did ask why, though. Hang on. No, wait. Now, Rob, hang on. If you're going to throw a stone like that, hang on. I did ask why, and she said the council of the day, it wasn't palatable to them.
No. The past 10 years. It's her council.
Okay, but her answer was it wasn't palatable.
The day is referring to the 12 years ago, Michael. That's the thing. So here's the thing. Well, if you take a look at the report, and I sent you a copy of this report.
I have looked at the report.
The 22% is the bare minimum. If you look at the report on page 6 of the report, he points out that Actually, if you wanted to do what you need to do for the pressing financial issues, it would be approximately 2 times the 22%.
That's what Mayor Shantz just said.
That's 44%.
That's what she just said.
Then to go further, even if this figure doesn't consider the full implications, funding these needs for everything would require 3 to 5 times the tax increase shown here, which would be 66 to 110%. Okay? That's what's in the report on page 6. Now, how did you get there? All you got to do is look at the report. They have not been budgeting. And first of all, I was gobsmacked when I saw this article in the paper that said they're using Excel spreadsheets.
It's ridiculous.
To figure out what they're doing.
How about...
I was back in 2012 talking about MS-DOS-based accounting systems and not really understanding the implication of that till I realized you can't do reports. Then when we brought in a new treasurer, I remember walking one day into his office, and he had Excel spreadsheets all over. He was buried in Excel spreadsheets. He couldn't keep track of anything. You can't run this properly. I mean, first off, I think the report put together by their treasurer is excellent. The director of finance, Combe, forget his first name, I apologize, or his last name. We should send this person, Combe Lynn. We should send this person to every municipality, certainly every small municipality across the province, to do an analysis and see where they're at, because this is not the only small township that's going to have problems. And we know up in Kapuskasing, for example, they effectively closed their doors. They said they were going to close their doors August 1st. I don't know if they've done that because of the problems they're having. I spoke to another CAO recently who's in a smaller 2-tier municipal regional situation and said he's dealing with another smaller one that's having problems. They cannot track what is happening. It is literally a pilot flying blind in what's going on with respect to Woolwich right now. They don't track their overtime costs. They don't track the cost, the deficit that they experience every year in snow plowing. They've reduced their reserves. And that shocked me, too, that the reserves were reduced. I can remember sitting at the regional council chamber talking about using some part of reserves to provide some tax relief for residents and hearing from people around that horseshoe that we can't do that. But that's exactly what has been going on in Woolwich. Depleting reserves to provide tax relief. And now you're in a situation where you have unfunded capital requirements. No 10-year capital plan. It boggles my mind.
How about
to see what has occurred?
How about non-finance staff in various departments being responsible for contributing to the budget documents? That's incredible.
Yeah, I know you asked the question about decentralized approach to finance, and that wasn't quite understood, and that is a problem. I mean, this is the thing. One of the benefits of bringing somebody new in, like Mr. Lynn, is you get fresh eyes to take a look at the situation, and they're not tied to prior decisions, good or bad. They're not tied to prior decisions. So they can come in and take a look at it and say, based on my experience at other places, and I took a look at his LinkedIn account and the experiences that he's had. He's got great experience from other places, and clearly has put together a report that tells them exactly, and this report tells you exactly why things are a problem and why literally you could be facing a 110% tax increase if you really wanted to do everything you want to do. So this has been an ostrich-type budget. It's been a head-in-the-sand-type budget in the past, not recognizing the problems that are coming in the not-too-distant future, because there's all sorts of capital. You know, here's one of the things that got mentioned. Developers will produce buildings or what have you, or capital projects that will be assumed by the township or the municipality. But the municipality or township doesn't necessarily plan for what's going to happen with those things in terms of operating costs and future capital costs. And this is where you can run into problems. And also point out, Mr. Lynn has pointed out, the numbers below are roughly accurate because of current system limitations. They represent best estimates. This is what they're dealing with, best estimates in terms of their planning right now.
You know, you're giving a lot of credit, and deservedly so, to Colm Lynn and the work that he's done here. Do you know who else, Rob, is an excellent treasurer? Craig Dyer. Do you know what I'm getting at here? Because I think Mayor Shantz in Woolwich Township is making the case to have their services, their budgeting uploaded to the region. How about some amalgamation, my friend? That'll fix this butt quick.
Some people have commented to me that this in and of itself is almost like a walking billboard for I don't know if you want to say one city, because the cities do a good job. The region does a good job. Craig, look, when I was mayor of North Dumfries Township, I learned a ton from just watching what was happening at the region and then going back to the township and saying, hey, are we doing this? Are we doing that? And the examples are all laid out there. And the fact that this township hasn't been doing that just really surprises me.
All right. Rob Deutschmann is with us, as he is every Wednesday morning at this time. Some political R&D. Craig Dyer does finance for the regional government, and that's why I bring that up. Some people have said this story is an example, a walking billboard for one municipal government. We'll continue our conversation with Rob, and I want to get into a couple of things here. What is this telling us about smaller municipalities, or maybe any municipality, and the experience and or expertise that we are electing to office if things like this can happen? And how do budgets get so far out of whack and so far above inflation? I'm sure Rob's got insight, and we'll get it as we continue political R&D on the Mike Farwell Show. 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. He is a former municipal mayor, regional councillor, and provincial candidate. Rob Deutschmann joins us for Political R&D Wednesday mornings at 11:30. Rob, you did a real good job explaining other municipalities like Woolwich Township where these budget challenges have reared their ugly head, so to speak. I mean, do we have to take a look at, I don't know, the experience and or expertise of the people that we're electing? Is that what, is the underlying issue here? Just a complete lack of experience or understanding?
Well, okay, a couple of things. First off, I just want to point out Craig Dyer is no longer the director of finance at the region. He retired recently. Okay?
He had been, and he was good.
But aside that, and excellent at his job. But let's just point out a couple of things. First of all, when people run for office, I mean, they can come from all walks of life, and they don't necessarily need any particular expertise, because you as a voter have to take a look at what they do and what their background is and what they're wanting to do and decide whether they should be elected or not to make decisions. You also have to consider what's your staffing situation, because staff are the ones that have to guide the councillors with respect to providing the information that they need. And, with respect to finances, what I learned after the fact, I mean, if I knew then what I knew now, you have outside auditors that come in and examine what's going on. And I think there's a huge responsibility on outside auditors to point out, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. And it's not done enough. I think a lot of times outside auditors come in, they, want to leave a good impression with whoever they're dealing with. They want to get the contract for the next year and don't have that heart-to-heart, because I can tell you in North Dumfries, they should have been telling us we need financial software and budget software and never said a word. So there's a whole lot of factors that go into that. But, the other thing here is this. We hear this comment about, and certainly at the regional level, we say, hey, province, look, we're doing all these things for you. We're paying $180 million and stuff that's your responsibility. We need more money. What's the province supposed to do in a situation like Woolwich Township, for example? Okay, they're saying, we need more money. If you're looking at this situation and seeing what they're going through and seeing what they know and what they don't know, and how things are being managed with respect to the tax departments, we'll say, are you going to give them more money?
Absolutely not.
Right. You can't track where that money is. If you can't tell me what you really need and what you're going to be doing with it, how am I going to give you more money?
So do you see a way out here, Rob?
Well,
I mean, other than get ready, Woolwich Township, because it's going to hurt in the fall.
It might and it might not, Mike. It really depends on, do you have a really bad winter? Do you have a bunch of roads that are deteriorating really bad? Like, you sort of live with what you have and then see where it goes. But I think there certainly is, it is a red light alarm. I'm not going to say how many red lights or whatever, but it is serious. I think that they're fortunate that Mr. Lynn has identified these issues. It's laid all out. So, I mean, from a transparency perspective, it's all right there. And I think you've got a council now that's committed to trying to take the steps. But, for example, the province is not helping when you read this report about DC's development charges, right? First of all, the townships hurt themselves by waiving development charges and not making sure they're properly funded down the road. But at the same time now, the province's changes on development charges, and you saw that with Kitchener, with the huge shortfall that they're anticipating. These things are going to hurt because now municipalities are going to have to do capital projects to encourage development and building, but they're not going to have the money. And if Woolwich can't borrow, it's going to be very hard to see what happens. So there's a lot of factors that come into play, but at least they're looking within themselves. They're looking to clean up. But even Mr. Lynn's pointing out, it's going to take several years before the financial accounting and budget software gets into place. It's going to take a while before they really know what's happening and what's going on. But I think this report lays out, and that's why I think that many municipalities should have a report like this that lays out what needs to be done and analyzes what's going on, opens it up, and then says, this is what we need to do. And I can tell you, as mayor back in 2010, looking at this report, I would have loved a report like this.
You've obviously been a part of many budgets, Rob, so you would have a better understanding. And I acknowledge my view is simplistic, but I've really wondered why year over year, if a municipality is providing X services for X dollars, why the next year it goes up by dramatically more than inflation. Like, shouldn't those salaries go up by inflation? I assume construction costs go up, et cetera. Why is that, though?
You're leaving out a big part of that equation.
Which is what?
Services, capital, okay? Capital investment. So you build a road or you build a community, so you build an arena. Let's use that as an example. You build an arena, $10 million. You open the doors, you're enjoying the arena for 40 years. A lot of times, people have not been putting money aside for when they have to rebuild that arena. Now you're stuck with a huge bill 20 or 30 years down the road. And that's one of the problems I pointed out here is they don't have a 10-year or a proper 10-year capital plan that shows how you're going to fund it. So when you can see, okay, in 10 years or 20 years, I'm going to need to rebuild that building, you're starting today to say, how am I funding it? Reserves?
And
what do I need to do?
I was going to ask about the reserves, because that's what reserves should be for then, right?
Right. But you have to have a proper capital plan in place that identifies not only the work to be done, but how that work is going to be funded, which includes a mix of, unfortunately, your property tax base and potential government grants. And in the case of, for example, in Ayr, we're adding the Twin, we're doing a $2.15 million community fundraising. That was part of the capital plan. So we knew what we needed to do and how to get there.
So it should then, though, be possible if you're budgeting properly. Is that what I'm understanding?
I don't know if you can keep it at inflation because, construction costs and other things really escalate. And, I think I heard you mention something about staff salaries are usually at or around inflation. So that's not the issue.
Well, so I wonder, are we trying to do too much as governments that we add more services and that's why? Or construction, I can understand for sure.
No, it's not that we're trying to do too much. And sometimes maybe we are a little bit because, especially at the regional level with services, social services and other things. But we're not properly budgeting for capital projects because those are the big dollar items down the road. And we kind of shunt those aside, continue on, finish our term, leave it for the next person to deal with.
Yeah.
But clearly with this report, Mr. Lynn has identified that is a significant issue. And I can tell you, it's the same in North Dumfries. When the CAO came in, the new one, or the one we have currently that has been there for a while, is doing an excellent job. He identified these problems right away because he came from Whitechurch, Stouffville. He could see what they did there. He could see what we weren't doing here, and implemented the changes that had to be done over time. And that's what it takes. And that's why I'm saying we need more Mr. Lyns to go across this province and examine what is happening or not happening in a lot of these smaller municipalities and townships.
I was just going to say the same thing. Here's to more reports like this, only sooner, because the barn door is open.
I applaud Woolwich for the transparency of this report. I wish them all the best as they're moving forward to try to implement this thing. And I hope that staff all get on board and row in the same direction, because sometimes you have people that have been, legacy, long-term employees. This is how we've always done it. Well, how you've always done it is not getting it done for the future.
Always appreciate the conversations, candid as they are, Rob. Beware those roundabouts, and we'll see you next week.
Oh, man, you could take me up on the challenge. Don't be a coward.
I'm on the roundabouts every day.
Come on, you got to go out there with me and we can talk about it.
Okay, we'll go out together anytime, my friend.
All right.
All right,
Talk
thanks,
to you
Rob. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Rob Deutschman, political R&D. He was fiery this morning. I was just trying to set the stage and give the answer that the mayor gave to the question. And when I asked, but how? How did we get to this point? It was 12 years, the council of the day. It wasn't palatable to put away that 4.5% or add that 4.5% to the tax increase to keep up or get rid of the backlog in infrastructure. Rob brings deep experience and candid commentary to our show every Wednesday morning at 11:30 with a little political R&D. And I got to say, I don't feel a whole heck of a lot better about municipal budgeting and why it doesn't get tied directly to inflation, because it sounds like we're just not doing a very good job of funding capital projects, putting that money away so that it's ready when the capital building, the capital expense needs to be updated, etc. I get what the construction costs. That certainly can add things up. But anyway, we should start with a target of inflation. But that was if I was in charge of things, which I'm not. I'm only in charge of this show. And on this show, I take your calls and you tell me what to do. Talkback is coming up on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
Take out the papers and the trash, or you don't get no spending cash. If you don't scrub that kitchen floor, you ain't gonna rock and roll no more. Yakety yak.
Don't talk back.
Just finish cleaning up your room. Let's see that dust fly with that broom. Get all that garbage out of sight, or you don't go out Friday night. Yakety yak.
Don't talk back.
And the award for smartest listener of the day goes to Chuck. Chuck sends me an email to Mike at 570news.com under the subject line, Woolwich tax increase. Really? Chuck's email reads as follows. Mike, listening to you on the radio right now. Thank you, Chuck. The question was asked, what should the province do about the proposed tax increase for Woolwich? Answer, all caps, multiple exclamation points, mandate amalgamation for Waterloo region. Chuck, you are singing the music to my very ears. Of course, that's what we should do. One level of municipal government to rule them all. Okay? Way to go, Chuck. You win the award for smartest listener of the day. You were listening between the lines. That would solve. This is a business case for an amalgamated, unified, single-tier governance structure in the region of Waterloo. And on the other side of that coin, my buddy Craig, who sends me a message to Mike at 570news.com and says, Farwellville doesn't sound like a very fun place. What do you mean? I told you in Farwellville, we are trusted like adults to drive responsibly, so we don't need your stinking speed limits, and we certainly don't need your stinking speed cameras, and you're going to love the taxes. I'm just going to tax in Farwellville businesses like Rob Deutschman's exorbitant amounts because his business can afford it. And the rest of us will live, in the affordable life that we deserve to live in when we are living in Farwellville, if you don't mind. One more thing that will not be in Farwellville are speed cameras, just to carry the theme a little bit further. I shared this with you during the Farwell Show 5 this morning, Ontario Premier Doug Ford at the International Ploughing Match, and he was asked about the City of Vaughan's decision to end its speed camera program. That decision coming at a council meeting just this week, and Doug Ford was all in favor of that idea.
Yeah, they're terrible. It's nothing but a tax grab. The only thing proven is that they take money out of taxpayers' pockets. I know how to slow down traffic. There's different methodologies. You do the little circles, you do the speed bumps, you do the flashing signs.
That's what you do to slow drivers down. You don't use speed cameras. Don't tell that, though, to the deputy mayor of nearby London, Ontario, just an hour to our west. Sean Lewis says, I think the premier is offside and he's listening to the wrong people. Go the damn speed limit, and it's not going to be a tax grab because you won't get a ticket. Just some tidbits from the news today and conversations we've had on the show. It's your Talkback Hour where you get to talk back at us. 519-570-2545, star 570, and 1-800-570-5715. We'll start with Sean. Good afternoon, Sean.
Good afternoon. How dare you steal my thunder with Chuck's email?
Come on. Amalgamation, baby. Let's go.
I know. Like I'm listening to this. I had a couple thoughts on this. The biggest problem is the townships don't have the tax base. You know, like you look at the cities, we have a lot of industry, commercial operations. We've got the tax base. Townships don't have the tax base for what's expected of a municipality to do in this day and age. Simple as that. They don't have the tax base to function. And the other part of the equation is they don't always control costs. Like when they have to do roads and stuff, they have to put everything out for tender. And I've come across situations where they put something out for tender, like the region, for example, and what they get back is not even close to what they've budgeted for the job. You know, it's because the private companies want a lot more money than what they expect. So we have two things going on here. One is the townships lack the tax base, and the private contractors want more money than is expected. Simple as that.
Sean, appreciate the thoughts and the insight. I would say on the point of the townships not having the tax base, and forgive me, I know this is a radical, downright wild idea, but how about we live within our means? How about that? Like, I have talked to so many people, particularly in my travels around Ontario in the Ontario Hockey League, who come into, for example, a major city centre like Sudbury. They live hours away, but they live in a place that is sparsely populated and doesn't have the amenities of Sudbury as the example. So they drive in a couple of hours to do a big shop at a big box store or something like that. We could just, look, you live in this particular rural area, you have fewer services than they do in the heart of Kitchener, Cambridge, or Waterloo. Isn't that kind of okay? Could we live within our means? Not overextend ourselves? I don't know. I think we could. George in Cambridge, Farwell Force member, 00. George, good afternoon.
You got the right George. Good afternoon. I think I want to apologize to my friend Paul in Preston, also to Nicholas Ermetta. I think you know where I'm going with this. Mike, it's time. Okay, it's time. We got to stop. We got to amalgamate everything together, run it as one municipality, one city, and let's find those cost savings.
Welcome aboard the amalgamation train, 00 George. Thanks for the call. He had to apologize to Paul from Preston, not to be confused with Preston Paul, but Paul from Preston, a regular caller to this show, who famously said,
"This whole amalgamation thing sucks."
You're wrong, Paul. I don't like to point out the error of your ways, but you're wrong in that case. George is right. He's coming on board. Nicholas Ermetta wants Cambridge, has floated the idea of Cambridge leaving the region, seceding from it. No. Cambridge, look, I'm opening my arms real wide as a little old 5'5" guy like me can open them. They're open real wide, and I'm gonna wrap them around you right now. Come on in, Hespler. I got you. Galt, here, it's stretching out to the south there. Okay, Preston, Blair, I got you all wrapped up there. I'm hugging you. You are in our amalgamated Waterloo. One government for all. We'll have one mayor, 23 councillors in my vision of one government in this community, and it's going to be great. We're going to love it. What a beautiful future we have. Mayor Jake, you're on Talkback. Good afternoon.
Mike, how are you now?
I'm good, and you?
Not so bad, thanks. Yeah, so I saw the wicked wimp Sean Fraser talking about bringing in more hate crimes before any bail reform or any talks about getting these repeat offenders locked up. We're in a repeat offender crisis right now where we have more than half of the crimes being committed are by repeat offenders. When is this guy ever going to actually do his job?
Mayor Jake, we almost dodged that bullet, so to speak. Wasn't Minister Fraser one of those who said he was stepping away from politics to spend more time with his family, but then when the Liberal fortunes changed, his mind changed as well? Listen, I don't know about the half number. I'll take you at your word. I'll have to double check that. But my ears did perk up when I was listening to All News Mornings today. And forgive me, I forget the specifics of the story, but it was a police story, and the arrest made was of an individual. Among the charges against that individual, breach of probation. These stories are occurring far too frequently. It's as simple as that. So I hear where you're coming from. Andre, you are on Talkback. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mike. Thank you for talking about moving the pedestrian away from the roundabout.
I'll talk about that till the cows literally come home, Andre. Until the cow is on my front stoop chewing on some cud, I want those pedestrians out of the roundabouts.
Well, the thing I don't understand is there's always great ideas, just bad planning. I don't get that one, Mike.
We should start with the great idea, then plan it.
One thing I'm mind blown, and hopefully you can help me on this one, is the camera above Vaughan. It got vandalized, all right? And now you got Mr. Ford, who's supporting it again with, I don't know who it was, one of your guests said that in the past. He has a tendon of pulling the trigger pretty quick. Oh, yeah, it was Mr. Rob Deutschman. He pulls the trigger. He likes to do that. But the thing is, Mike, where I come from, when you do things like that, you're not supposed to win, because now I'm hearing from people that they want to go out and they want to vandalize the camera that we have. And I don't get tit for tat on that one. I don't understand. I believe that the cameras are good, but they should be in a certain places like Victoria Street, or, you know what I mean? They just didn't, again, bad planning.
Andre, listen, I couldn't agree more on that front. And Andre's also right. Our response to speed cameras should not be vandalizing them. I understand the temptation, believe you me, but that should not be our response. We should advocate for the change we would like to see. But Andre talks about where he thinks speed cameras would be appropriate. He says Victoria Street. I was telling you earlier today that after many calls from you, I went out to Homer Watson and Blockline after the show yesterday, as I promised I would, to check out the new raised crosswalk for pedestrians. And many of you had said it's like a vicious speed bump to go over top of. I didn't find it all that bad, but I'll tell you what I did notice. Homer Watson Boulevard is a whole heck of a lot like Ira Needles Boulevard that I drive to work every day. It's a ding-dang racetrack. If you want to put a speed camera somewhere that speeds are so high as to be incredibly dangerous, put them on Homer Watson Boulevard. How about that? Put them on Ira Needles Boulevard. By all means, fill your speed camera boots on roads like that. What I would like anybody, I will extend this offer to any of our municipal politicians who wishes to take me up on the offer, okay? Speed cameras are about safety. That's what we're told. We're increasing safety. I get it. And this is where I really struggle. And I believe what speed cameras are about is revenue, because our local councillors say the cameras are about safety. So my challenge to any municipal councillor, mayor, chair, or councillor anywhere in this region, I would like to see the data that you used to determine that Bluevale Street North in Waterloo was unsafe. I want to know what the data looks like. Show me the number of collisions and injuries on that street. I'm just using one because of the speed camera at 30 in front of St. Agnes School. Show me the data, the collision data that proves that street was unsafe and needed the safety enhancement that is a speed camera. And once we see the data, we can analyze it together and determine how unsafe it was and why it needed the speed camera. That's my ask. If you can do that, maybe you can get me to come around on this idea that it's about safety and not about just taking money out of people's pockets as they make their way to church on Sunday morning. It's Talkback on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. And right back to the phones we go as Talkback continues with Paul. Good afternoon, Paul.
Okay, Google, volume 100%. Amalgamation sucks.
Paul, listen, if you say those words, I used to get in so much trouble from producer Paulie because you set off smart speakers all over the ding-dang place.
That was my intention, because amalgamation sucks. Anybody who supports amalgamation sucks.
Now, be careful. You don't have to make it personal.
Cambridge should go back to Gulf, Preston, and Hessler. Life was so much better back
Stop
then.
it. Paul, you got to admit, come on now. You don't want these finances to be a mess all over the region, do you?
Listen, if we get this whole amalgamation thing, all that means is that Cambridge has to support its four bumpkin cousins from across the other side of the 401. I'm not including Hessler, because Hessler's still part of the better part of the world. We can't afford to always have to support you guys, because you got no land, you got no money, you got no nothing over there in the other side of the highway.
All right, Paul. Good to hear from you as always. I'll tell you one thing we don't have, and it does chafe my chaps a little bit. We ain't got no single 401 off-ramp or on-ramp. They're all in Cambridge. Hey, Cambridge, why don't you share some of those off-ramps and on-ramps? What about that for an idea? Every ding-dang one of them is in Cambridge. Walter, good afternoon. You're on Talkback.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Are you done crying now?
Oh, are you kidding me? When they roll my old bones, listen, Walter, when they roll my old bones out of this studio permanently, then I'll be done crying. Other than that, baby, I'm here to cry.
I can tell.
Okay. What's up? Homer Watson. You can get off Homer Watson off the 401. That's in Kitchener. You can't. Yeah, anyway. Okay. But it's close to Cambridge.
Yeah, you stand correct.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just making it up as I go along.
Right. But the rec center, which is like not far from there.
Which rec center?
It's going to be in Cambridge.
No,
Remember?
They're building that. They were supposed to build it there, but now they're building it way down in Galt. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like they were going to build it there, and that was in Cambridge. That's right by Homer Watson, but that was too close to Kitchener. Anyway, I just wanted to say that last Sunday I took a drive down to Brantford to have a look at that monster crane that's down there. Have you heard about that thing?
I have heard about that thing. How was it?
It was phenomenal. I've never seen one that big. It's a 650-ton crane, and it's got 600 tons of counterbalance, and it's amazing. It took 40 truckloads to bring that thing down here from the Gordie Howe option that they were doing down in Detroit after it was finished. It took 40 truckloads to haul that down here.
Unreal. And what are they doing with it in Brantford?
They're taking out a rail trestle, like an old one from the 1800s, I guess, whatever. It's right behind the casino down there, which isn't far from, the arena.
Yep.
And so they took out half of it, and now they have to take it apart, and they got to walk this thing around to the other side, and they have to set it all up again, and they're going to take out the other half. But I didn't know that much about it, and my dad called me and told me, he said, you get your butt down there and take some photos, because he's, he has a hard time getting around. So that's what I did, and I was amazed at the size of this thing. Now, also, I hear that the OHL is starting up, this week, and I just want to wish you all the bad luck in the world this year, and I'm hoping that the 12 Storm are going to, come out ahead, but you never know. And as far as the Toronto Blue Jays go, I think we're going all the way. Have we not played every team in the league, and we handled them soundly?
Well, I don't know that we handled the Los Angeles Dodgers soundly, but anyway.
Oh, wow, yeah, but they'll be lucky if they make it. I think San Diego's gonna get up ahead of them and then they're going to be in the wild card. I'm talking about the Dodgers. And they're going to lose.
All right, Walter. Listen, I got to run. I can't go too far down the sports rabbit hole right now. And you can wish me all the bad luck in the world as a Storm fan, but because I am the Kitchener fan and gracious individual, because that's what we are in Kitchener and Waterloo and Cambridge and the townships anywhere in Waterloo region, we're gracious. I wish you the best of luck with your Storm this year. And I'll have to keep my eyes open. Shouldn't be hard to find that crane. I think we're going to Brantford in November this year. Brantford is in Kitchener on Friday night to start the regular season. I think we're down to Brantford as early as November. I'm just going off the top of my head. But anyway, and speaking of a rail trestle that Walter mentioned, that crane was taken to Brantford to work on. If you missed it earlier today at the beginning of the show, even though we can't seem to get effective, efficient rail service between the region of Waterloo and downtown Toronto, all day two-way go, the provincial government was more than happy to announce earlier this week that it had made the necessary investments to get the Northlander back on the rails ahead of schedule by 2026. So next year, you're going to have a train from downtown Toronto right up through Muskoka Cottage Country as far north as Timmins and Cochrane. Because why? I don't know. I guess we just don't rank high enough here in the region. Talkback continues on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. During the Talkback Hour, we rely on you to do just that. Talk back. If it's on your mind and it matters to you, it matters to us. Maybe you've got a reflection or thought on something we've talked about on the show today. That's why we reserve this space on the show every day, and we go right back to the phones for John. Good afternoon, John.
Hey, Mike. First-time caller here, and I thought I'd weigh in on the traffic cameras.
By all means, and I love my first-time callers, John.
Yeah! Oh, I feel special.
Thank you very much.
The speed cameras, I agree with what's come up in the discussions I'm hearing, that we need more of them in other busy streets because there are some ridiculous speeds on streets. And at the same time, they're a bit slow in some of the school areas. I get that. But I agree with you that it's a cash grab, because if it wasn't a cash grab, I thought that the regions would have made the first ticket a warning rather than an actual fine. So there's a bit of fuel for your fire on that with them.
You want to put more fuel on my fire, eh, John? Because I am fired up about these things.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But at the same time, speeding, you and Rob Deutschman had a talk last week, and speeding to me it's a gateway crime, so to speak. Because it's okay, how do you decide which law you're going to break and by how much? Really is what it boils down to.
It's a really fair point. And I like where you're coming from. There are absolutely streets we would all agree on could benefit from speed cameras.
We need a few more, and I think they're just being a bit too harsh by throwing them into the really ridiculously low speeds. For safety, I get it, but they're throwing them into the areas where people are more likely to be speeding, because 30 kilometers an hour is, in cars today, it's a crawl. You don't even feel right. They feel smooth at like 130, so let alone 30. And it's really unfair to throw them in there first. They should have thrown them in the higher speed areas where it is really a serious problem, and given warnings to the person, oh crap, I better slow down.
I will absolutely vote for you in the next election, John.
All right, I'll let you know when I'm running.
Appreciate it. Thanks for calling in today.
Take care, bye-bye.
You too. Great to hear from a first-time caller. This is truly, it is simply all I'm asking for. You want to keep speed cameras, by all means. I know you have the data. We used to put out, I've been wondering where it went. I should ask this question more formally. What happened to our annual collision report? I don't think there's one that's been published since 2020, but we have the data. Right? Where are the collisions occurring? Where are the dangerous areas? Look at the data and apply your speed cameras accordingly. It's really that simple. And you know what? Everybody will get behind it. It's when you say it's about safety and then you drop a speed limit on a street to 30 kilometers per hour where there is absolutely zero data to support the danger that existed on the street before you dropped the speed limit. Why would you drop the speed limit to 30? Maybe because people are going to cruise through it at 42 and you can send them a ticket. And that's not cool with me. Prina, good afternoon.
Mike, it's Prina.
Prina, I'm so sorry. I should have this memorized by now. I'm very sorry. And you're Farwell's Force member number 147, too. I'm not going to forget again.
Absolutely. So Alan and I were having a discussion over the our lunch today, And we've come up with what may be a revolutionary thoughts about the speed camera issue. Is it possible for the speed cameras to kind of, like, the traffic hours, say the daylight hours are, the day starts at 7 and then the daytime segues into evening time around 7 in the evening, right? So
Sure.
how about if the cameras could be set so that speeders during those time frames would get a ticket, and anybody else that's caught on camera outside of that time frame would not?
Maybe they could get the warning like John just talked about.
Absolutely tootly.
I like that, absolutely tootly, Prina. Another revolutionary idea. If, again, it's all about safety and protecting those precious kids as they come to and from school, then enforce the lower speed limit during school hours and on school days. The person who got the ticket on Franklin Street in Kitchener on Christmas Day years ago, when there were no kids in school, no teachers going to school, and frankly, very few ding-dang people even on the road because they were all spending Christmas with their families. I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing when we're doing that to people in our community? Come on with your coming on. Kyle, good afternoon.
How about some consistency on speed limit signs?
Oh, when I was going down Homer Watson to check out your favorite roundabout, it goes from 50 to 70 to 50 to 60. It's a lot going on.
Yep, and then if you go down, I think it's Northfield, or where just in Woolwich there, if you're going towards Elmira, about 7 months ago, it went from 80, and then it tuck you down to 60, and then it go down to 40, and then there would be a speed camera there, and then you go back up to 60, and then you go back up to 80, and they realized they changed that, and it goes from a 80 down to a 60. No speed cameras there now because I guess they took them down for a little bit, and then it goes back up to 80 again. So I don't know what the heck is going on. Why not in the city? It's just one speed limit no matter where you are in the region, and you're on the highway, it's another speed limit. None of this, like you said, on Homer Watson. That's exactly my point, is it goes from a 50, 70, 60. Like, there's no consistency whatsoever. So I'm sure if they put those speed cameras up in those areas, I'm sure there won't be a sign that tells you that it fluctuates that many times, but they'll be happy to grab your money and give you a fine and a ticket in the mail and a surcharge and all that stuff. So I appreciate it. Thanks a lot, my friend.
Thanks, Kyle. I appreciate you paying attention to those speed limits, though. You're a very aware driver, so I'm quite pleased about that. And listen, it's something else I've said around the speed camera idea. To Kyle's point, if we just left streets at 50 kilometers per hour, unless otherwise posted, and you want to start ticketing people that are doing 55 or 56 or 50, fine. If 50 is the limit, then fine. But anyway, it is not as easy as you would like it to be, and to be a driver these days. And you should pay attention, watch those speed limits for sure, and to Kyle's point, watch that speed camera in Winterburn. Ooh, she'll get you going down to 40 through there for sure. Greg, you're on Talkback. Good afternoon.
Hi, Mike. 38 here.
Farwell's Force member, number 38.
Yeah, and I liked your St. Agnes example because I was there from kindergarten to grade 6 years ago, and
you lived to tell about it when there wasn't a speed camera there, Greg?
Apparently. And I wasn't even on a bike, so I was only on foot was my only escape of anything scary coming by. And
oh my gosh, I can't believe you survived.
I'm not even sure I got a bruise actually, so I guess I did something right back then. So so that's the thing you're saying about lack of data. I'm sure there is none, but say if there was one, I'd like to see.
No, there is though. There is data. That's the thing, and they won't share it.
Oh, there is. Okay.
Well, there has to be.
You know why the data is not going to get shared? Because I bet you it's not the driver's fault on any stats that happen to be there.
Well, there won't be any stats is the point. Like the data, it's an empty field. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. So, but if there was, I bet you it wasn't driver responsibility. It was something that wasn't, anyway, not speed related, And then I guess I heard the last part of Rob this morning, and I guess he almost basically gave the same mentality as me with my condo example yesterday. Yeah, previous ones not doing the math and not doing the proper steps. And I never even dreamed of, I never heard of a special assessment when I, bought it. It's more like, okay, quick, I got to move. All right, a condo, sure, let's buy it. Wasn't a dream saying, oh, let's check out the reserve first to make sure this thing's funded. No, had no idea. So, and then when you said you gave your idea for the next one, next regional election, you said, use speed cameras as your platform, you'll get elected. Well, that could be the problem. You're going to be throwing out ideas that are going to be like sounding good, and then what kind of skill do you got to do the whole job when you get in there? Like, is there any financial planner going to be there, just someone who, paints nice pictures? So two separate things there, and that's probably part of it too. Who's ever getting elected doesn't have the skill set to, go the whole distance.
All right, Greg, I hear where you're coming from. Listen, don't forget that it's the staff within the municipal government, within the municipality, that does that heavy lifting, so to speak. The elected officials are there to provide governance. So we'll always remember that. But you do have to wonder when budgets get as out of whack as budgets have been getting lately. And, all this talk about speed cameras, I can't believe I forgot to mention this at the beginning of the show, because yesterday I was kind of complaining and kvetching about having seen for the third time, the third straight individual I saw riding a bike through my neighborhood, doing so on the wrong side of the road and looking at their phone, like they're one hand on the handlebars and one hand looking at their phone. I'm like, what are you doing? Just ride your bike. But, last night, out walking Rosie the pandemic pup again, and we saw two other dog walkers looking at their phone as they walk their dog. And worse, a young man turned, and again, it's like a quiet little residential street, but like there was nothing in the way. But as he made the turn, I thought, boy, he's kind of towards the middle of the road, not the side he should be on. And it's a beautiful night. His window's down. He's literally staring at the screen on his phone while he's driving down this street. There wasn't a car to be seen. I was on the sidewalk. But the point is what I'm starting to think of, and I was listening to Rob Snow yesterday afternoon talk about, big tech and policing the internet and stuff like that. I'm starting to think this. I'm starting to think that all of these issues that we're talking about, all of the problems, maybe it's the phones that are the problem. And I say that as a guy that works for a company who is a major telecommunications provider in this country. But my goodness, like, who's in charge here? Because from what I see, you could call it anecdotal if you want, but that's a lot of people in the last week and a half, 2 weeks, doing things that they ought not be using their phone with simultaneously. And yet they are. They're riding their bike, they're walking their dog, they're driving their car. Maybe the phones are the problem here. Maybe we got to get ourselves under control when it comes to those things. Talkback continues on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Busy afternoon on Talkback, just the way we like it, because we want to hear your voice on the show. Mary, good afternoon.
Oh, I'm so happy you took this call.
I'm happy to take it.
Is my guy shotgun tomorrow?
You know what? Gary is away this week, so you will not hear Living Retired tomorrow at 10:30. Sorry. He'll be back next week. Okay.
But anyway, and I started with the call. Aren't we getting people riled up about speed cameras?
I'm trying not to.
And well, yes, you should.
Oh, okay.
No. So I'm like, I think that someone out there, I'm a full-time caregiver, so I haven't got the time or whatever, somebody should get a petition for getting rid of the speed cameras. And number one, that's number one. And number two, getting the pedestrians out of the roundabouts. What do you think, Mike?
Yes and yes, Mary.
Okay. Do you remember in the general rule of thumb was you can go over the speed limit by 10 miles per hour, and the police was there and they wouldn't give you a ticket. Do you remember that?
I do, and I believe
kind of the rule of thumb.
I believe that still exists, and I do understand, Mary.
It doesn't with the speed camera.
I know, but in fairness, I do see that side of the argument. I really do. If you don't want a ticket, don't speed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, that's too simplistic. If it's 30 and you going 32. And you get a ticket.
I don't think you'll get a ticket at 32.
Yes, you will.
I don't think so.
They don't tell you what the limit.
I know, but the police won't tell you what the limit is either.
No, I know, but listen. Anyway, I've always been with you on one regional government, get rid of all these other people, and save money and have a better system.
All right, Mary. Thank you.
Come on with your coming on.
I love when you say that. I love it, Mary. Thank you. Okay, come on with your coming on. 59. That's a number to remember. 59. That's how many municipal politicians we have. 59. As Mary just said, come on with your coming on. And on the speed camera front, I do understand the argument that, hey, if you don't want a ticket, just don't speed. Absolutely fair. Where it's unfair is where you arbitrarily, on a street that has had no collision nor injury, lower the speed limit to 30 and then enforce that arbitrarily lowered speed limit 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. That's unfair. Period. Full stop. Just to show you, though, because you know how I feel about these things, obviously. We are working on a guest tomorrow, and I'm confident that he will join us, a former Toronto police officer who says speed cameras are not a tax grab. They are a safety measure. We'll hear directly from a cop on the show tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock. I'm very confident we'll be able to arrange the interview. I'm open to listening. You know how I feel about it, but I'm open to hearing other points of view for sure, and we will on the show tomorrow. Ernie, you're on Talkback. Good afternoon.
Hey, Mikey. First off, too, that Mayor Jake guy, if he ever runs, I'm voting for that guy. I agree with almost every point he makes with that there. And just a commentary on the Blackhawks reporter there. I'm a little bit surprised that after I canceled my Disney Plus and with how she handled the budget last year, that she's exiting the way she is. I'm a little bit surprised by her. Just taking up and going, you know?
What, Chrystia Freeland resigning? You mean you didn't cancel your Disney Plus to help make ends meet?
Oh, no, I did. That's what I'm saying. I listened to her.
Oh, so she's doing such a good job. Why would she leave?
Well, exactly. And, I would like to request We Didn't Start the Fire by Billy Joel in honor of her on Friday, if you have room for that one. But if you have a spot for that there, too. And I stand to be corrected here, Mike. I just heard Bonnie Crombie resigned from the Ontario Liberals yesterday.
That is correct.
And you would think, for me listening to your show, I thought Doug Ford was the premier of the Ontario Liberals the whole time. You know what? Sometimes I guess some stuff clicks into my brain, some it doesn't. You know.
I guess not.
So I don't know where I got that one wrong, but anyways, Mike, thanks.
All right, Ernie, good to hear from you today. Appreciate it. Just speaking of Doug Ford, how about the Independent Financial Accountability Office, which says budget deficits in Ontario are going the wrong way. In fact, they're ballooning. There will be no return to balance, says the Financial Accountability Office, as promised by Doug Ford and his Conservative government. The estimates now are that the deficit will grow to $8 billion by 2028, 2029, the opposite of what we expect from Conservative governments here in Ontario. And because Ernie brought up Chrystia Freeland talking about that on the show tomorrow morning at 11 a.m., her resignation, what does it mean? And because Ernie requested a song, a reminder, this Friday, your song request, we're taking your love songs, baby. We want to know your favorite love song for All Request Friday this Friday. Talkback continues with Shirley. Good afternoon, Shirley.
Good afternoon, Mike. I just wanted to comment. One of your previous callers got it spot on about how the speed limit fluctuates on the same road from 60 to 40 to 30 to 80. I have seen that throughout Guelph and Cambridge, and it can be less than a kilometer. You see all these speed changes. I find that's really unsafe because now I'm driving. I'm more distracted looking at these speed signs to say, am I doing the speed limit or not? And am I going to get caught by one of those cameras? Because there's a difference of 10K, right? And you can get dinged there. And when I learned to drive decades ago, I was taught 50 kilometers an hour in the city, residential areas, 40 kilometers in school zones, because that was the speed that was determined that could not cause bodily injury, severe bodily injury. And everything else was drive the posted. So now I spend more time staring at signs, trying to figure out if I'm in the speed limit or not, which is, I think, unsafe. That's a distraction as a driver.
Shirley, I really appreciate the call and the thoughts on that. Maybe I missed that part in driver training, or I wasn't paying enough attention as a younger driver. I don't remember the 40s in school zones. I do remember the 50 unless otherwise posted. And what you got used to around here because of the rural areas is that you would get up to 60 or sometimes 80 when you're further out of town, but it was 50. I don't remember the 40s in school zones, but maybe I just wasn't paying enough attention. Some fair points for sure. I think the responsible, financially and otherwise, choice to make here as you're operating a motor vehicle these days in this community and elsewhere, these speed cameras, municipalities have gone nuts with them. Just drive slower. If you think you're driving slow enough, go even slower, because you don't want to get dinged with a ticket in the mail, because that's going to sting a little bit. And that's all the time we have for today. I've already hinted at a couple of things coming up on the show tomorrow. Hopefully that former traffic cop that says speed cameras are awesome. We'll talk about Chrystia Freeland. We'll talk about a new bike trail through Rockaway Gardens. Who puts a bike lane through one of the most beautiful gardens in our city? Come on with your coming on. My name's Mike Farwell. You are a force for good. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye for now.